Hey everybody, I'm Morgan.
And this is Ryan.
And we're talking chitty.
What's up, everyone? This podcast is brought to you by thecrabshomestead.com,
where I blog about our life, homeschooling, homesteading, traveling, DIY tiny life hacks. You can check out our podcast on there, and you can also check out our shop.
Don't forget about our Poshmark closet. We are second chancers, that is to indie chancers. We have band tees, sports jerseys and apparel, single stitch vintage shirts, Ralph Lauren and Tommy Hilfiger polos, cool kicks, antiques, and collectibles. We just picked some 1940s Pennzoil motor oil cans that still have the original oil in it. The original grocer's 69-cent price tag is still proudly displayed on top. Stacked and displayed, they remind me of a Fallout 4 prop. They spruce up any man cave, she cave, or bar and bring you back to a simpler time. Or just appreciate the fact that these are no longer made. Yours sounds great.
So we are with Rico today on our podcast, and he is going to tell us a little bit about recruiting, Army recruiting. We're going to talk about some stories maybe and see where this shit goes.
Codename Rico. How are you, brother?
Excellent.
You know, there's
a lot.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you good?
No, I was going to say there's actually a lot of people that are excited about your podcast. They actually called me when they found out I was going to have you on, and they were like, holy fuck, he's going to be on there. Hell yeah, I'm definitely listening to that. Because a lot of people, man, they honestly want to know, what is it like for you to be a recruiter? Because a lot of guys know you as Sergeant Rico.
Yeah.
And, yeah, good job. And, you know, they remember you. And I'm hoping you are still that same person. So tell me a little bit of how you like recruiting.
Well, I mean, recruiting isn't too bad of a gig once you get the hang of it. I know coming from a combat job, being an infantry grunt, and then going into like a recruiting world, it does take a significant amount of adjusting for sure. It isn't the same as lifestyle on the line where where you can pretty much say and conduct business as you see fit.
Sure.
For recruiting, it's a lot different. You're kind of you're under a big microscope. Everything you say, everything you do, everyone watches, everyone knows about. So anything that you can do or anything like that, someone's always watching. And in today's digital age with cameras everywhere, I mean, you don't want to be that guy.
Right.
So. It can be a little stressful and trying at times, but as long as you're not a bad dude doing bad things, then you should be okay. I mean, I know it was very hard for me, very stressful the first 2 years I went into recruiting. I was recruiting on the East Coast, and I was really upset because I was on the East Coast because I'm not an East Coast kind of guy.
Sure.
I spent most of my entire life on the West Coast or in the South in Texas. So it was difficult for me to adjust to the different type of people on the East, different personalities and lingo and stuff. But it was tough because it was hard for me because I was so scared of doing something wrong, and most of before you go to be a recruiter, you got to go through recruiting school.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to be a recruiter. I didn't.
Sure.
I fought a nail. They pretty much had to drag me kicking and screaming. I even went to the school and bombed it on purpose on the first time.
No shit.
I was like, well, it looks like I can't be a recruiter.
Guess I'm not cut out for this job.
Yep. And then sure as all hell, I get to my duty station after recruiting school, and then they cut me orders again. They said, nope, you're going back. I was like, there, and then they threatened me and said, well, if you don't make it through recruiting school this time, then your career's over.
No.
So we'll move forward with chapter. So I was like, all right, things just got serious. Well, why didn't you say so?
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
All right, I'll go and went through. I made it through, and then they ended up stationing me out on the East Coast, and then it was a learning experience for me. At first, initially, I didn't mind recruiting. It wasn't too bad. I mean, I was like, all right, they didn't expect much from me as a new recruiter. So as a new recruiter, the USARAC in general doesn't expect too much from you. They're like, well, you're not really going to, because you're learning a whole new job, right? You're pretty much learning a whole new job. and you're learning as you go. You're learning from other recruiters. You're learning from leadership. You're learning the dirty business with what's good, what's not good. Things that you can get away with, things that you definitely should not.
Sure.
And you hear the horror stories, and most of what they do in recruiting school is threaten you most of the time anyway. Hey, don't do this, don't do that, don't get caught doing this. You could get caught with high school kids. You're going to prison. The work.
Whoa,
so it's like,
does that happen?
Yes, it does.
Oh, I bet.
It's happened quite a bit, but I would say not as much as it's been happening with teachers and students.
Oh,
wow,
shit.
yeah, dude,
yeah,
and
that's true.
So did they find it's usually guys hooking up with these high school girls, or is it women recruiters hooking up with?
Usually male. Yeah, it's usually male recruiters that are hooking up. Well, I mean, it's not even just us or our branch per se. It's other branches. For example, one of the branches. When I was recruiting on the East Coast, I don't really want to name the branch, but they're kind of known for their rah rah rah.
Okay.
The recruiter was caught in the janitorial room with one of the high school students.
Oh my
Didn't even
gosh.
leave campus.
What happens to somebody that gets caught?
Damn.
Oh, they're done. I mean, he's
Right.
dead to rights.
Leavenworth?
Usually it depends on. I think in a lot of cases it depends on the state laws too, but some state laws are more lenient where they consider 17 years old an adult. But in this case, I don't recall the age of the student at the time, but I know it was one of my schools. And that guy went to prison. He was done. So he lost everything.
That sucks.
Wow.
That's what happens. I mean, you play that kind of game.
Absolutely.
And usually it's not your older recruiters, or your older gentlemen per se. I think it's kind of a thing where you have a younger recruiter who's,
I got it.
In his early 20s per se. They kind of do things like that because, someone, recruiter that's 39 years old. It's kind of highly unlikely,
Right.
So
yeah.
Now you're just an old man.
Unless they're
at
going
39.
through a dad phase or something.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
So, but things like that do happen occasionally. It doesn't happen all the time. It's very rare, but it does happen.
Yeah.
There's instances where there you have improper relationships with possible recruits. So the rule in recruiting, because recruiting can be tough as far as their rules and regulations, you have anyone who's eligible to enlist in the military is pretty much untouchable. You're not allowed to date.
Okay.
So if you were a single person and you went out to recruiting, say you're a 25-year-old young person, you're a new recruiter, you go out and you hit the night scene in your local area and stuff, and you find a young lady who's a junior in college who graduated high school, is physically fit and eligible to be recruited, then you're not allowed to date her.
Are you serious?
Shit.
Right.
Wow. That's crazy.
You're not allowed to date anybody who's eligible for recruiting.
So you gotta get someone all fucked up or something.
Yeah. Well, I knew a guy when I was stationed in Texas. He was a recruiter, and he would tell me about stuff that this was before I became a recruiter. And he got an Article 15 because he was dating a lady who was his age. He's in his mid-20s. She was in her mid-20s, but she went to a recruiting office to join the military, and it wasn't his recruiting station, it was another recruiting station, but they found out the recruiter was dating her, and he got in trouble for it.
Whoa.
Damn.
So yeah, there's a real
you just gotta stay away.
red line there that you can't cross, and it's dangerous.
So
luckily I married before I came out to recruiting, so I don't have to worry about that business.
I got that.
how long have you been married for? I see pictures all the time.
I've been married for 5 years, but
Nice.
we've been together for 10.
Wow.
So
Very cool.
That's awesome.
after we were together for 5 years, we decided to tie the knot, and then we had 3 puppies and went from there.
That's awesome. That's cool.
My favorite picture of you guys is when you guys are all dressed up and you have that like the skeleton mask paint on.
Oh, that's face paint, man. You know me, I do face paint.
I know you do.
I was going to ask about that story. I've heard this story a lot about you using face paint
on patrols,
patrols.
and missions.
I've heard this.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear it from the horse's mouth if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, that was young crazy.
I've been told you've done that on every single deployment.
Yes.
Is that true? That is true. Okay.
Yeah, I did a lot of them. Different styles of paint. I think that one was the one I went with for that specific mission, just because of the events that unfolded that day.
Okay.
We took 3 guys got hurt that day on patrol,
Yep.
and then we had a mission that night for a raid, and things got weird.
Things got weird.
Started the revolution.
Love it.
That's good though. I mean, that's got to be intimidating though. I'd be scared as fuck seeing these big ass dudes with face paint on. Like,
He had a sword too.
oh my, that's right. I heard about the sword. You really went on a patrol with just a sword, no gun? Like,
Oh yeah, I was a freaking psycho, man. It was like, well, at the time, my mindset was, this is my second tour. I'm a young guy.
yeah,
and,
sure.
I was pretty aggressive, and I really hate that. Even still today, there's
Sure.
something that gets to you, and you're just like, oh, these guys.
Yeah.
Oh, you done messed with the wrong person today. So
You picked the wrong one, motherfucker.
when you come across these bad guys, at the time it was just we're fighting I wouldn't say Muslims itself. It was more or less a lot of the extremist rhetoric.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I spent time in Cuba for a bit.
Hmm.
I was deployed there for X-ray and Delta.
Were you really?
Wow, nice.
There, yeah, that was in 02.
At
And
Guam?
you kind of learned that I learned initially from that deployment that they're very superstitious.
Huh.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
they're very like anything involving like the spiritual world kind of like
Yeah.
really trips those guys out. I mean,
Oh,
because
that's
they weren't afraid of us. These guys would run suicide vests into us,
Yeah.
suicide car bombs, SV beds. These guys would do anything to get at us, and they weren't afraid. They're not afraid of death, and they're not afraid of us.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would you do to get to them? And so
Yeah.
I was thinking 2 moves ahead. My mentality,
Psychological.
it was a psychological, spiritual sense of like, yeah, so you're not afraid of me as a man, but you'll be afraid of me if I'm something else. So I
That's
created
crazy.
this, this soul on my face, and I hunted them down like that, and yeah, I scared the crap out of them. They were,
Wielding a
terrorized, and
sword.
yeah. And the sword was also another tool because
Sure.
it was what they were using. It was an escalation of force at the time to me.
Yeah.
In my mind, and my perception of things is that these guys at the time were capturing truck drivers and decapitating them.
Yeah.
They were any Americans that they captured, they would decapitate, cut their heads off, or any supporters of that element. So I
Mhm.
carried around a sword too. So that way I was like, okay, well, 2 can play that game.
That is
All right?
awesome, man. That's so
So-
fucking cool.
That was the mindset behind it. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're just a crazy guy, paint your face around a sword." It was like,
No.
no, there was a reason behind it. There was not just completely random or just because I wanted to be cool. It was because I think the fight was drawing me to that level, because if they were gonna to bring it to that extent, that level of heightened, combat tactics, then I was like,
Yeah.
all right, well, I got some tactics of my own, bub.
Right. Right.
Method to the madness.
Exactly. So I used my own methods to terrorize terrorists in a
That's
sense
good.
in my mind. So I've always thought it was effective, and not everyone agreed with my methods. Obviously, me and my LT butted heads over that
Sure.
a bunch.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
it didn't work well with him when the commander and the first sergeant were all about it.
Ah,
First Sergeant was definitely all about that.
that's so funny.
Yeah, CO was pumped up about it too. He's like, "That is awesome."
Was he really?
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, I
in
thought.
in the midst of the LT trying to bitch me out, saying, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "Sir, we just got 3 people. 3 people got shot today, and we're not exactly going out to make friends."
Yeah.
Which LT
What you
is it? A
going
cigar?
on?
No, doesn't matter.
Because he was like, "What the hell are you doing, Skato?" And then the commander walks up and he's like, "That is effing awesome."
That is fucking awesome. That was
And then-
fucking awesome.
The LT just shut the hell up. He was like, "All right, I ain't saying shit anymore." I just grinned and walked away.
I think it
like,
was great for morale too, because that spread like wildfire to everybody, and then all of a sudden the pictures started coming out, and we were like, "Fuck yes, that's fucking awesome."
That's
I think
awesome.
everybody wished they would have thought about that first. So yeah, I commend you on it. I thought that was cool as shit.
And there's
Well,
like
I-
a badass.
got it from. I was a huge Punisher fan in growing up, and I used to read comics as a kid. So
Nice.
and even being somewhat in an adult, I was always kind of poked in and look at the new comics and see what's going on. And one of the ones that intrigued me the most was Punisher War Journal. So, and that was actually prior to the deployment. They came out with Punisher War Journal, and then they also had the game where you had his face painted in the jungle, and I was like, that is awesome. So I want to do that, kind of. And that was the theory behind it. And it was at the time I was into the whole, belief system. It was like, this is not justice, it's punishment. I'm not doing this to, look for justice or anything. You're going to be punished for what you did, because the things that we seen and the people that we were facing off with, it just seemed like it was the best way to get to them.
Right.
And then we didn't have much faith in the judicial system, especially the Iraqi judicial system.
Right.
We were turning back over to them, and they were turning around and releasing them.
Yeah.
We had 2 Iraqi police. This was when our platoon was on a patrol, who executed a man right in front of us on the street.
Oh shit!
Because they were supporters. This was in Baghdad. They were supporters of the Jaish al-Mahdi militia.
Yep.
The Jam, and we were rolling over, and they didn't see us because the strikers were so quiet, and we were across the field, and there was like 5 Iraqi police surrounding this one man in the street, and we kind of were looking over, and we were like, "What the hell is going on there?" And all of a sudden, they pulled the pistol up and just shot him right in the head, in front of his house. And then we were like, "Oh, what the hell?" So LT and we just roll right over to him. For a second there, we had a bit of a Mexican standoff. They drew on us, we drew on them, and then we were like, "Put your weapons down, or you're gonna die."
Yeah.
And I was all business at that moment. And I was like, I was really about to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And they finally surrendered their weapons, and then we went to go turn them in to the detention facility, our detention facility, and they wouldn't take them because they were IPs.
Wow.
They didn't want to deal with the political blowback.
Yeah.
Of their own people being executed by their own government or officials,
Yeah.
So they told us to turn them over to the Iraqi police. So we're like, they are Iraqi police. Why would we turn them over to the Iraqi police? Nothing that we could do, And they're like, well, turn them over to a different station. We're like, all right, fine, whatever. So I don't know. After that deployment, I was kind of salty over a lot of the politics and things that were going on at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't completely agree with. I think it ultimately led to a lot of other issues and problems that came out within the country later. But
yeah,
for me at the time, I was just a lowly NCO and infantry grunt, so no one was going to listen to me.
Right.
So the best way that I could, deal with them is fight them on the street as best I could.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, because I'm right there with you when it comes to the politics. There were some, I don't know how to really say this other than there was just some screwy politics going on. There was a lot of things that, I didn't even agree with, and I felt the exact same way. I can only do my job, and I'm going to do my job to the best of my abilities. And, a lot of people, they would just be like, man, you just kind of lose it out there. Well, hey, man, there's only one way to deal with this. Yeah. So, and like, I always said, I just told myself I was dead from day one. That was the easiest way to just maneuver out there.
Yeah. And we even talked about that. We had a podcast with a friend too, and we were talking about like how you can operate in a situation like that every single day. And it was kind of like, well, if you're already dead. And I remember when Ryan told me that, and I was like, I get it. Like, I get it's like a state of mind you have to be in. Like, he very rarely called me. It was mostly messenger. So whatever, but I think, I was going to ask you guys, do you think that the ROE and like the whole politics got worse after the extension when y'all went to Baghdad, or was it kind of the same in Mosul as well? Or was it,
I wouldn't say the ROE. I mean, we were concerned about the rules of engagement when we got into the Baghdad area, but I mean, ultimately, we were going to do what we were going to do to stay alive.
Right.
So,
well, that's why y'all were there.
There were things that got to me that really got like under my skin.
Yeah.
Like Solder City was untouchable at the time. We weren't allowed to go into Solder City. If we were engaged by anybody from Solder City, we were kind of directed to just leave it alone and break contact or move away.
Yep. And they would run into it.
Yeah, and that was very aggravating, because we were like, what? We were here 12 months. You extended us 4 more months to come down here and clean up this mess, but you're telling us not to do anything. You're tying our hands behind our back.
Yeah, exactly.
They took away our air assets. They took away the air assets that we had when we were operating in Mosul.
Do you know why that is? I have a video of why.
I don't know. From what I heard and what I remember, it was them saying that the divisions didn't like the fact that we had that capability at our level, at a battalion or.
No, I ruined that for everybody, actually. So it was me and Scarborough, and we had Wolf 6 watching this all go down, and he was actually on top of his striker and cheering, screaming like, "Yeah, this is amazing!" And what was it? Then Shields comes in, was it Webster? Excuse me, Webster comes in and knocks on our striker door because long story short, there was an IED. So I thought I saw an IED, and Warmonger was flying ahead. So I was like, Scarborough, just fucking put some Hellfire rockets on that bitch. Let's just go. I don't want to wait for EOD. They're going to take about 6 hours, just to get out of their bed. And then it's another 6 hours for them to get out here. So fuck that. Let's just blow this shit up. I end up talking them into doing this. And so they first do a strafing run and, throw some 50 caliber at it. Nothing, okay? So then, hey, let's put a Hellfire rocket on this. I think we shot a total of 4 of them. Later I find out Hellfire rockets are about over $1 million a missile or a rocket. And so, yeah, I spent some good money that day of the taxpayers' funds. Thank you guys for that nice fireworks show.
Got to fuck off
but nothing ever blew up. And so finally, EOD did show up, and they started playing with this thing. Come to find out, it was an actual IED, so we weren't in the wrong. But I guess Webster didn't know how, the big guy was going to take it, so he knocks on the back of our ramp, and him and Scarborough have a little, chit-chat outside. And after that, we were not allowed to talk to Warmonger anymore. So,
Jesus.
Yeah, I kind of fucked everybody on that. But at least I was there to see that great show because I'd never seen a Hellfire rocket blow up. So it's not as exciting as, they make it in the movies, but it was pretty cool to waste, over $4 million that day.
Jesus
yeah, I
Christ.
definitely remember when that happened. I mean, word spread like wildfire around the company. He was trying. Yeah, and then I don't know. There was a lot of things that I think that changed things when we got down to Baghdad, and Baghdad was a different kind of fight.
Yes, it was.
A different fight. Yeah, different enemies, different type of entities that you were dealing with. You had your corruption level was kind of higher stakes in around the Baghdad area.
Yeah.
It was a lot more corruption than what we were dealing with when we were in Mosul. Yeah, there was a level of corruption that kind of expected in some ways, but when we got down to Baghdad, it was like at a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also getting support from other units and then operating in that area. No one was really happy to see us down there. We were kind of like, peeing everyone else's Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And they didn't really like it. So, and it wasn't really that it was our decision.
No, I know. Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, you guys come down here to save the day, huh?" Like kind of make them look bad, I guess. Well, I know, and I found out that a lot of them were using tactics that were just ridiculous. I mean, they were all, but I don't think it was their fault either. I think it was just
chain of command.
Yep.
People in charge of their elements were telling them to do that stuff. So, if they got into contact, they're telling them, "Hey, don't fight them, break contact, and get out of there."
Jeez.
They're playing like kind of the political game, and then opposed to actual, fighing the fight like they were supposed to.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know where the breakdown specifically happened, but I'm speculating because I think because I had other friends that were in other units that were operating in that area, doing their jobs, and they were telling me, "Hey, this is what we were told, and this isn't what we wanted to do," because they had the same hatred that they did for the enemy as I did, and they were like, "Yeah, I wanted to stay and fight these guys, but from our food chain, they're telling us that we can't fight these guys. We have to break contact and move out." And we're like, "What the hell is going on?"
Is it for show? Like, did they just bring the strikers down there to show off and be like, "Look what we got. Maybe we can just intimidate them with these new armored vehicles"?
I think at some levels, it was expected that we were a quicker reaction force.
Sure.
To be able to deal with the threats that they were dealing with down there. When people were hit by EFPs or certain IEDs and took catastrophic damage and nobody could get to them quick enough.
Yeah.
We were usually the fastest element on the battlefield at that time. But I would say the big communication breakdown, I think it wasn't really a communication breakdown. I think it was, certain, and I don't want to slander anyone, but I think certain officers, field grade officers that were in charge, didn't want to deal with certain things that they should have been dealing with, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm speculating. I'm thinking maybe a battalion commander didn't want to, invest too much into the fight
Hmm.
and was telling his guys to pull back than
Sure.
opposed to, going full throttle and crushing these guys, which ultimately just created a bigger problem in the long run.
Absolutely.
But I think that's where it was, because the top of the food chain is like, yes, this is what you need to do. But, there's guys out there in the Army, and we all know who they are, who just want to get promoted,
Yeah.
who just want to get the badges and the
Yeah.
patches.
Fruit salad.
And that's
Yep.
what they care about. Yeah. And then once they get what they get, they're like, yeah, I'm moving on with my career. They didn't care about the fight. They
Right.
didn't care about the mission.
The
They didn't
men.
care about, the
Yeah.
soldiers. There's a lot of people that were in there. And, the Army went through its phases of trying to deal with people like that,
Yeah.
but it's still around even today. But not as extensively as it was then, but where people were just kind of, using and abusing the system to their own advantage.
Right.
And ultimately it hurt. Not everyone's heart was in the right place, I guess.
Right.
I heard that when you guys got to Baghdad, 4th ID had just stopped patrol, or they were pretty much not patrolling anymore, and it had kind of run rampant. But I don't know how true. Like, is that true? That's what somebody
Well-
from 117 told me.
Well, it was a whole division. So like
Yeah.
it was just a small portion of the division that was operating in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, there were like the guys that I was talking to, because when we got extended, we went down to Taji. I was talking to the unit that I used to be in.
Yeah, you were
was
with 4th ID, right?
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
talking to them, and I'm like, dude, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And he was telling me they're not letting us do anything.
That
man.
sucks, dude.
Anytime we take contact, these guys are telling us to break contact and not to fight back, and we're like,
So
why
that
would
was
they do
that
that?
unit. That's
And they're
crazy.
like, I don't know. And it wasn't just them; it could have been the battalion that was working in that
Sure,
area.
absolutely. Yeah, well, and
The other problem was that there was a larger unit there, so we were on Taji at the time, and Taji was an aviation asset primarily. So most of the people that were on Taji were all support. They were mostly aviation. So when we got there, we were like kind of the only grunts that showed up, and they were staying on Taji essentially, aside from the other unit that I was talking to, and they weren't even operating as a full infantry unit. They
Oh,
were actually
wow.
they shoved them into a combined arms element, so they were a part of a tank battalion at
Holy
the time.
crap.
They were, what the heck is going on?
Yeah,
And those
seriously.
deployed shortly after. I mean, and I think another thing had to do with it is that at that time those guys only had because I was in that unit, so they deployed from 03 to 04, and then 6 months later they deployed again.
God damn.
This was before they put in that rules where you have to be stateside for a certain amount of time before you can deploy.
I forgot about
So
that.
these guys were kind of worn down too.
Absolutely.
They didn't have much of a break from one deployment to the next as a unit.
Yeah.
So they just shoved them right back out in the battlefield. So that could have a lot to do with it also.
Absolutely.
And how they were performing.
Absolutely. That's crazy, man. Like, and how now, okay, I know when Ryan got out in 08, he like right before he got out, he got in trouble because he smoked this one guy's balls because he showed up drunk on duty or whatever. And he got in trouble. They were like, you should have made him write a paper or something for it.
Yeah.
Is it still like that? Like, are they still having grunts like write essays now, or can you smoke them?
Not really, no. It's not. It's different. I left the line 5 months ago to come back to recruiting.
Oh, okay.
Well, they gave me a nice chunk of change, so I was
no.
like, cool.
That helps. Yeah.
Well, you come back to recruiting, we'll give you a whole bunch of money. I was like, well, don't twist my arm.
That's a fucking deal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And at my age, I'm on the brink of retirement. I got 18 years in. I'm pretty close to retirement,
Nice.
so it's like, well, why not? I was like,
Yeah.
I can't go around, running with these kids anymore like I used to.
Sure.
Not that big giant dude crushing souls and
Breaking dreams and such.
That's awesome, man.
And my ways are kind of an ancient way now. So, a lot of times even a lot of the other NCOs are looking at me and be like, hey, bro, you can't do that stuff no more. And I'm just like, oh. And for me, it's hard because it's the way I was kind of brought up in the military. It's the way I was trained. So it's hard for me to train other soldiers that way. Yeah, and it is effective. And I know it's effective.
Yeah, it's extremely effective.
Say it's not effective because you got everyone around you working. It's a new generation now, so you got to think that we're in like 2019, and kids today the issues that you deal with are crazy, and you can't touch these people no more. So, like, for example, I was a platoon sergeant and infantry platoon sergeant, and I was running the show. And a lot of people didn't like the way I did business because I was kind of old school, and I had dealt with things a little bit differently than everyone else was kind of used to. And I had a lot of young NCOs in my platoon. I had, like 3 staff sergeants that were still kind of wet behind the ears. Had only been staff sergeants for a year or two, had only been in the military since '09, Wow. So they have a different mindset than some of us who've been in longer than that.
And what do you think that mindset is, though? Like, describe that mindset.
That's the problem, is I can't, because I couldn't connect with these guys. I couldn't understand them.
Wow.
And ultimately, that's what kind of led to me just saying, you know what, maybe I should just go back to recruiting, because I don't think I'm going to do too well here with these guys. And they were kind of throwing me to the wolves, and they got in with the PL, and everything got kind of weird, and I was like, you know what, F this.
So it
was more buddy now, or instead of...
Yes. It was really, really strange for someone at my level to deal with, I think, in a lot of ways. I was like, do I crush everyone? Do I not crush everyone?
Do I crush everyone?
Who am I going to work with here?
Jesus Christ, man. When I got to Fort Hood, and this was the day that I told myself, yep, I'm fucking done. I got to Fort Hood, and what was it? An E2 tells a corporal, shut the fuck up and do push-ups, Roger. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Oh, my God.
I mean, Corporal, that motherfucker's the meanest guy ever, because nobody respects him above that rank, and nobody respects him below that rank. And just to see an E2 say that and get away with it, nothing was said to him. I was like, I'm fucking done. This isn't my kind of party anymore. This isn't how I fucking operate.
What was crazy, though, is that whole time that we were up in Alaska, like, everybody that would come over, everybody that would talk to us, they'd be like, wait till you get to a real unit. Wait till you get to a real unit. And I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? And then we got down to Fort Hood, and I was just like,
I didn't like real units.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
It was
a lot more to deal with than and I experienced that coming from Fort Hood going to Alaska, and I was like, oh, man, great, because you ain't got everybody and your mom and your business.
Exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
Man, they were fucking nosy.
Yep.
And it was ghetto as shit.
You had the on-post housing drama and all the neighbors and stuff. There was some weird creep shit when I was there, and I was like, man, this is nuts. Dude, and then all the crazy horror stories and weird things that happen between Killeen and Fort Hood. You're just
dude.
I can't believe it's real.
I worked in Killeen, right off of Fort Hood, at University of Phoenix for a few years after he got out of the military, but I was on the military team, so I was talking to all these military spouses, and I have never in my life, I mean, like, you guys have told some really gross stories, like those stories that circulate, like the guy that ended up fucking his daughter and coming in her face, like they didn't know it was the daughter. I don't know. There are all these fucking crazy stories, but some of these stories these ladies told me, like, it was crazy. And I was like, is it just because it's Fort Hood? Is Fort Bragg like this? Is it, or is it just like the really populated posts that have this much fucking drama?
Oh, I guarantee you Bragg is like that too.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, Bragg. Yeah. I heard some
I've
shit
heard
about
some
Bragg.
fun stories about Bragg,
I
yeah.
have too. I have some friends there.
So my first sergeant at Fort Hood, he was a great guy. He was an old school guy, and he loved my ways. So like when I got in trouble for smoking these guys, because I don't want to write my entire squad up, and then now they have paperwork, and eventually they're going to get chaptered out because they got all this paperwork now against this guy. I said, hey, fuck it, I'm just going to smoke your balls, and then we're going to go on a 12-mile road march to get that alcohol out of your system, handle it the old way. So he liked the way I handled stuff. Well, he told me, hey, I need you to do, I don't know what it was. It might have been a CQ desk, or maybe it was the staff duty desk. I don't remember. Long story short, we're in this one barracks, and you have to do, this, what was it? He tells me, look, when you go, he goes, do you have a baseball bat? I was like, no, why the fuck do I need a baseball bat? He goes, well, they put the last guy in the hospital. And I started laughing. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, no, that's why I want to put you there, because I don't think anybody's going to fuck with you. But bring a baseball bat. And that was it. Closed his door on me. And I was like, oh, fuck, you know. So I go home, and I don't have a baseball bat. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to need a baseball bat. You know, I got a lot of my guys in here. And so sure enough, there was these guys. They come in, and it was 3 of them, and they were laughing and bragging about, you know, beating that guy up, sending him to the hospital. So I was like, oh, you guys are the ones that the MPs are looking for right now. Wait, what the fuck? Like, oh, yeah, man, there was like a bunch of MPs. They were just looking for you guys. So, yeah, I'd kind of keep it down, whatever you did, you know. And then from that night on, I didn't have any issues with those guys.
That's funny as fuck.
But, yeah, I had no issues. The only thing I saw, though, was somebody, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just hear this beating, just pow, pow, pow. What the fuck? So I go outside, and there's some guy. He brought his baseball bat, but he didn't use it for self-defense. He was trying to break into the ATM machine.
Oh, my
and
God.
he's smacking the fuck out of the front of this ATM machine with the camera staring right at this cocksucker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey. So I yell at him, hey, you know that thing has a camera on it. It could see your face. He just dropped the bat and took off running. What the fuck? Like, seriously? What, did you just pass by this thing and you were like, fuck it, I'm going to get some 20s out today? There was like no plan for this thing at all. No mask, nothing.
That's crazy.
You meet some stupid people, I tell you what.
Oh, we had a guy. Man, we kept just smoking his ass, man. Making him take everything out of his room, clean everything, because black mold kept growing in his room.
Ew.
And he was just kind of a nasty guy himself. And we were like, man, you got to clean your room. You can't be like this. Well, come to find out, it was the neighbor, the next door neighbor. They were sleeping in their bathroom because they had turned their barracks into a meth manufacturing facility. And so they were manufacturing meth out of the barracks, and we were, you know, fucking this guy up because we thought he was just a dirty asshole. Come to find out, I guess meth brings black mold. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Fort Hood was, you know, it was a lot. We had this one lady when I got to the WTU, and she was an MP, and she said, yeah, I just went on a call about a month ago where a guy came out with a fucking samurai sword, and he was like threatening, you know, his neighbors with this thing, and he's just swinging it around. And I'm not gonna lie, I died laughing and thought of you. I was like, holy
Rico?
fuck, did he come to Fort Hood? Could it be? But no, there's some other crazy guy swinging samurai swords, so it wasn't you. But go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of things that happen that are hard to explain on post. We had a guy in our platoon who was him and his other E5 were manufacturing fake credit cards and IDs.
What?
Well, yeah, we went through, and CID comes in and you know investigates, draws everything. One of them grabs the stuff because no one knew he was involved. Was the NCO. Took the stuff to the car, moved it out of the barracks parking lot, moved to another location. And then they couldn't, apparently because he moved the car out of the search area, they weren't allowed to search it even though it was still on post. And I was like, but you have probable cause. These guys are known drug users. They've already been busted for that. That's partly why we're searching. And you go in there and you find fake credit cards and IDs, and you don't want to. Wow. So there's like this huge red tape thing going on around where people now are like getting away with things that you never used to be able to get away with on base even. And you're just like, what the hell? I mean, we had guys getting DUIs, coming hot with cocaine. One of the guys in my platoon, he came up hot with morphine.
Jesus.
And we're like, where the hell are you getting morphine?
Yeah.
We're like, and then you know, chain of command tells me, hey, don't ask them any questions. Don't even bother with it. Let the CID do their job and let them do their interviews with them and just let it be, and we'll eventually chapter them out. Sounds like I even as a platoon sergeant, I had like literally no authority or anything that I couldn't even really say anything or question them. Say, hey, what the hell is going on? I mean, it's really weird because the military never used to be that way. You know?
Yeah, right.
Things changed a lot, and it was even hard for me to even grasp. And I'm just like, literally powerless, you know, even as a platoon sergeant. I'm just like, wow.
They need to bring back wall-to-wall counseling.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. When did that change? Like, when did what changed that?
I think because everything they started incorporating a lot of these kind of like civilian type laws. And what a lot of it is revolved around. Like when I was in Texas, there was a dude, he he was obviously he was a weird kid. Dude was dirty as all hell. Went in his room, searched his room, and we found in his room. We were searching his room, and I'm kind of looking around, and I know usually I got a keen sense for finding something that's wrong or fucked up. I can sense bad on people for some reason.
It's y'all's Terminator risk
Weird
assessor,
gift, right?
whatever.
Yeah,
I agree.
I noticed this kid has 3 laptops in his room. You know, I'm like, you're a fucking PFC. Why do you have 3 laptops?
Yeah, how do you even afford 3
Yeah.
laptops as a PFC?
Rich.
What are you doing? You know, and then he has some gang paraphernalia. You know, because we're in the southwest area of Texas. And
Okay.
you think you're a real gangster, huh? All right, man. Well, open your computer. So I told him to open his computer. I was like, turn it on, and then I turned it on, and then I started going through his photos. I was expecting to see, you know, more gang related stuff, which is kind of what I was seeking out. And I was like, what are you doing? And then I find, you know, child pornography.
Ooh,
shit.
So I stopped what I'm doing immediately, and he was like, all right, dude, you're done. I was like,
Fuck.
told my boss, was the platoon sergeant at the time. I was a squad leader at the time, and I told my boss, hey, dude, this guy's got messed up shit on his computer. I figured there was something wrong, you know, and let him know what was going on. He's like, all right. Called in the battalion commander, called in CID, the MPIs. Everyone came down there, took all his stuff, cleared the room out. And this guy, you know, I just wanted to choke the life out of him. I was just looking, pure hatred. I just wanted to beat the life out of him. But I can't. So I'm like, you know, tell myself to calm down. We get interviewed by CID. We go into the CID office, get interviewed. CID thought I was CID for some reason. I don't know why. But
You're
apparently
undercover, bro.
I end up in the office by myself with the CID senior agent, and they're talking to me like I'm one of their bros.
No way.
And then the other 3 squad leaders in the platoon, you know, because I was new to the platoon at the time, they come out and they're like, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell us you were a fucking CID? I was like, what? I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Oh my
He's like, well, they
god.
said you were one of theirs. I was like, no, I'm not.
Oh my god.
So apparently they thought I was one of them for some reation.
Were you one of the
They
people?
were asking me about the search, and they're like, well, hell, you talk like a cop, so we thought you were. I was like, what? What the hell? So, anyways, come to find out that apparently we searched his room illegally, and none of the evidence that we acquired was admissible or able to be used against him in a court of law, and he got away with it.
Wow.
Oh, gross.
And even worse, the piece of shit was med-boarded.
Oh, gross.
So now the
So now
United
we're
States
paying for
government
him to
is
have a
paying for this
pedophile.
kid.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. You know, remember right before you guys deployed, somebody got picked up for child pornography, right before y'all deployed for Alaska, and everybody was pissing hot for coke and weed, but they're like, fuck it, y'all are going to Iraq. You know, they don't care, but that one kid...
Oh, I got in trouble for that one, too.
Oh, shit.
That was a kid from another platoon.
Yep, there's 2 guys.
Oh, 2?
Yeah, it was one was an NCO, the other one was a Joe.
Yep.
And he was walking down the hallway, and as I was walking down the hallway, you know me, I was a fucking bully. So as soon as I seen him, I was like, I barked at him and looked him in his eye, kind of like growled at him in a sense. I was like, and I was like, fucking Chester, get the fuck out of my face.
Fucking Chester.
Well, sure as shit, like,
God damn.
a couple of weeks later, CID wants to interview me. I don't know what the fuck's going on. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I go down to the CID office when we were in Alaska, and they're like, hey, did you do this? And I was like, you know, all proud of myself. I was like, fuck yeah, I did. Fuck that guy, you know?
Right. Pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, like I didn't stab him in the face right then and there, you know? So,
Right.
You know, hey, man, and they're all about it, too. They're like, hell yeah, I don't blame you, man. Fuck that guy, right? So I'm like, all right, man, well, was that it? They're like, yeah, that's all we wanted to know. I was like, all right, man, see you later.
So different.
Next thing you know, the commander and my platoon sergeant's like, hey, you got to go to this kid's court-martial. I was like, what the hell do I got to go for? And they're like, oh, well, how do I explain this to you? They're like, you might have to testify that you said some certain things to him because they're calling that pre-trial punishment.
Oh my god.
Apparently, because I called him a Chester in the hallway, they knocked 6 months off his sentence.
Come on.
Damn.
Come
So you don't have a good record with Chester's.
No, I don't.
You helped them out quite a lot, it seems like.
Oh my
Not
god.
that I wanted to. Jesus.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, you wanted the opposite effect, but you totally hooked them all up.
Oh my god.
I know.
You need to stay away from that. You're definitely not good at being a cop.
Oh, next time I'll just fucking put a bullet in them. God.
Oh my god. You know, and that's the thing. I think it would have been totally different now if, you know what I mean? Like you said.
But it's just not what you would expect. I mean, well,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, for them to say it was pretrial punishment, it didn't make any sense because I mean,
Yeah.
the kid wasn't in my food chain. You know,
Yeah,
I wasn't
exactly.
in charge of him, and I didn't make
You
him
didn't
do
know.
anything.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I probably startled the fuck out of him, and he thought I was gonna eat his fucking face. But you know, either way, I didn't understand it, but it was politics at the time, so it was like, all right, well, whatever. I guess I remember that next time. But then, you know, in the old ways and the rules was that when you searched barracks, the barracks belonged to the military. We
Right.
had full authority over our barracks.
Exactly.
Right.
So you could search rooms and do the, but I guess because the reason why that kid got away with it when I was in Texas was because the buildings weren't ours; those were contracted through civilians because they had just built them.
Really?
So we had no authority in those buildings. You had to go through certain levels of, you know, red tape to gain access like that.
No way.
Yeah. So
I
because there
did
was
not know that.
that's why it was that way.
Man, you know, there was just this level of softness that started taking over, and I don't really understand how you expect to have a fighting force, but soften it as, you know, as much as they have let this get soft.
Yeah.
I mean, softness, that's the only word I can really think about right now.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you
A
think?
softness.
Like you're recruiting these guys. What are some of the jobs that you're
Well, what are the recruits like that are coming in nowadays?
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, shit, I love that laugh.
Jeez. I mean, you get a mixture. I mean, you get a few good guys. I mean, I've recruited a couple good ones.
Yeah.
That I'm particularly happy with. But it's weird because you kind of, I don't know, they kind of say you recruit in your own image, I guess, in a sense.
I
So
get
a lot
that.
of the guys that I recruit are all infantry. In fact, I would say everyone that I've ever recruited into the Army, about 8 out of 10 of them were infantry.
That's
Nice.
awesome. You know, you have to be.
That's kind of my.
I don't
my
know if
thing.
you've been told this. I don't know if your wife tells you this or if you've been in the situation. But like, I know that now that Ryan's been out for a while, I tell people still treat him like he might be a cop or in the military, and he doesn't understand it. And I'm like, dude, you scream military. Like, you don't even have to have a uniform on anymore, and you have that effect. So like, I can only imagine you sitting down with these soldiers and like. For me, hearing the stories about you and knowing those things about you from, you know, whenever you were deployed with Ryan and stuff, I'm thinking like, you have to scare these kids, right? Like you have to be you have to be pretty intense, you know, because every one of Ryan's friends that he's deployed with, y'all all have this very distinct intenseness about you. And people either fucking love you or they fucking hate you. And that's like,
It's no in between.
exactly.
And I
yeah.
like
that's
that.
true. That is true.
So the guys,
people either really like me or they really, really dislike me, and then we kind of become sworn enemies.
Yeah.
But I don't have very many enemies left. I usually, because I crush them all. So
You know, I try to describe people to, you know, about you, and I'm like, just think of Mike Tyson. I said, he's like Mike Tyson, you know? Like, you know how when people talk about being around Mike Tyson, they're like, he's very intense, and I get nervous around him. I'm like, you know, it was
he's a
funny
champ.
watching you work with some of these soldiers back in the day because you would just stare at them, and they would just fucking break the fuck down, you know? It was fucking amazing to watch it work, man.
that's what I'm trying to figure out your recruiting numbers. Like, I mean, because people have to be like really excited about wanting to be like you because you have that. It's admirable, you know, you have this whole hero thing going on, and a lot of kids look up to that, you know. At least I know they did back in 9/11 days, you know, when everybody was super patriotic and, you know, they're like, oh, I love soldiers. You know, I don't know, is it like that now still, or I mean?
yeah, I mean these kids today are just tougher. They're hard to
Yeah.
impress, you know.
Really?
They think they've seen it all. They got, you know, the whole world at their fingertips now. So,
That's
you
true.
know, a lot of times I tell them about my experiences and things that I've seen, and they just, you know,
Whatever.
a lot of times they look at me kind of like in awe or confusion or sometimes just fear. I was doing a classroom presentation, what was it, 2 weeks ago. It was about 2 weeks ago. We did a classroom presentation for the school, part of a recruiting gig, and everyone. It's kind of awkward sometimes because everybody in my recruiting office that I work with they're all pogues. So we got a mechanic, a wheel mechanic. The other two are petroleum specialists, including my boss was a petroleum specialist. Another guy was in the reserves for like 30 years, and just count the days till that dude retires. He just does more damage than good.
Oh shit.
And then there's another guy who's supply. Oh, two other guys that are supply. So one other AGR guy who's active reserve. He was supply, and then the other guy, a new guy, he's supply also. So I'm kind of on my own.
I'll say, what the fuck do they think of you?
So,
they have to be scared of you, right?
Well, they already kind of think I'm out there, in a lot of ways. They know, and they already gather, like, yeah, he's the infantry guy, he's the expert, he's the combat dude, He's worked with everybody and done everything. So, and a few of these guys that I'm working with never even deployed before.
Yeah, sure.
So
wow.
Yeah, and so I go into this classroom presentation, right? So they all go, and each recruiter introduces himself. And obviously, they kind of made it a point to make me last, and I kind of knew why. So they go through and they tell their story. Well, I'm so and so, and this is why I did join the Army, and this is where I'm going to school, and this is what I learned since I've been in the Army, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, man, these guys are so lame. I'm thinking to myself, just me being. Yeah, one kid, I'm looking at the class and I'm just watching everybody, and I'm watching this kid, and this kid's falling asleep.
Oh my God.
I'm like, man, this kid shouldn't be falling asleep right now. This is not exciting to anybody. I mean, like, okay, you were stationed in Hawaii, you fixed vehicles, you fueled up vehicles, you got to ride around helicopters, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Then you got the other guys, same things, song and dance, they're going through, and I'm just like, oh man, let's liven this up a bit. So they finally get to me. And I go in there like a rock star, So I'm like, hey, I'm, Sergeant so-and-so, freaking, and this is what I do. I'm a combat job. I'm a combat infantryman. I've deployed 3 locations from, did 3 combat tours in Iraq. I've been to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I've worked with, special operations. I've worked with these guys. I've done these types of missions. I'm going through it, and, their eyes are all getting huge, like, holy crap. So they start asking me real questions, because I'll tell them the truth. I don't care.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah,
so I always tell the truth. I'm that person that I think I can connect to people by not trying to sugarcoat things, but just give it to them how it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they start asking me about, the real nitty-gritty questions, and then they come at me with everything they got, and I just smack them down like it's nothing. And they're like, well, they're like, well, what about, these people and this and that? And I'm like, well, and then I started breaking down missions and how they're conducted and what we did in certain areas and neighborhoods or operational areas and the types of missions that we executed. And they're like, just like, oh my gosh. And even the other recruiters were starting to feel uneasy at this point, because I'm just like laying it down there. And then they start asking me about PTSD, and they're like, do you have PTSD? And I'm like, I don't think so.
And they're all like, I don't know if I'm excited or scared.
I was like, I've never been diagnosed. I was like, and I turned around, and the teacher was kind of curious too. So everyone's at the edge of their seat at this point, and they're like, really drawn into me and what I'm telling them. Because I'm giving them the real nitty gritty of what the Army life is like and the things that they can do. And I'm like, I look at them and I'm like, I don't have any regrets. I joined the Army to be a master in my own craft.
Yeah, be a fucking badass.
Travel the world and learn how to fight and teach others how to fight and then crush the bad guys, because I don't like bad guys.
Right.
And they're like, well, yeah, that makes sense, And then the teacher got really involved into the PTSD thing. And so I turned around and looked at the teacher and I was like, look, man, I was like, police officers experience post-traumatic stress disorder. I was like, firefighters experience. Medical facilities, people who work in ERs and stuff like that. Doctors experience it.
Yep.
I was like, it is all on the person. I was like, the individual and what kind of lifestyle that you live and what you're exposed to. Now, is it normal to see people die? No, it's not. okay, it's going to bother some people. And if it doesn't, then maybe you should be seen. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
if
Exactly.
there's no levels of drawbacks from being in combat or watching people die or having to take someone's life, and you don't experience any type of drawbacks from that, then there's definitely probably something wrong with you.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Because it's not normal to experience some of those things or to see them. So I was like, yeah, but in some cases, you know, it comes and goes. I mean, some people experience the post-traumatic stress disorder, and some people kind of shrug it off. I'd say education and knowledge, experience, and time kind of helps you deal with all things.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, there was a lot of time in my life where there was a lot of things that I let get to me. But I was like, at this point, you know, not so much anymore. Because at this point, the things that I've done, I'm not going to say that I'm ashamed of them. I'm going to say, you know what, I'm glad those guys are dead.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because they did what they did, and I wouldn't have done what I did if they didn't put me in that situation.
And you're here because of those decisions.
He's just looking at me, eyes all huge, like, oh my God, you know.
That's fucking. Oh, so you're actually telling them this?
Oh yeah, I told him that.
Oh, that's fucking awesome, man.
You
I
know,
love it.
And that's the thing, right? And I don't think, and maybe it's because I've grown up with all these stories and all you guys just kind of giving me your 2 cents, but I forget that, you know, people that aren't associated with the military do have this awe about, like, is that real? Did that really happen? You know what I mean? But they're in awe of it at the same time, and I think that's hard for some guys to get their heads around. Like,
I think some people are. I mean, there's a lot of people, and I've seen it through the years, especially being a recruiter.
Yeah.
Is that not everyone's kind of impressed by the same things? You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young people that are drawn into that, you know, rough and tough lifestyle where,
Sure.
hey, I'm a knuckle dragger. I put my fist through a tree, and I can lift heavy things, and
Right.
you know. And then there's the other group of people that just aren't impressed by those types of things.
Yeah.
You know? They're more impressed of, you know, talking about their feelings or you know, the weird things that amuse people today, which is kind of foreign to me even today. I'm just like, what the hell? But I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the business. And sometimes it's hard for me to grasp what some of these kids like or what they're into. I'm just like, I look at them and I'm just like, my God, what the hell's the matter with you?
Right.
Have you seen anybody do the silent discos or anything like that?
Oh,
You know about
yeah,
those?
you've seen these things, huh?
The what?
Silent discos. Have you seen these?
No.
Oh my God, there's 3 guys. They're in their backyard. They're holding a silent barbecue, and they're fucking just dancing their ass off with headphones on. You don't talk to anybody. You just listen to music through your headphones, and that's it. And they have silent raves to where
Everybody,
it's just 300 people in, you know, just a huge warehouse, and everybody has headphones, and the DJ is up on the stage and playing the music, but nobody's talking.
You just hear everybody
just
like,
dancing. Yeah, you hear feet skip around and sneakers, you know, sneak and
and it looks crazy.
It just looks weird as fuck.
It looks crazy, dude.
Not saying it's not fun. I bet you that's a fucking blast, but
it just looks so weird.
I don't know.
I just wondered if you had, because you're in the high school scene, like, you're trendy and shit. Like, what's some of the cool stuff the kids are doing these days? I mean, is it
I don't
Pokemon?
know, man. If I found myself in that situation, I think I'd have to punch my way out. I don't know. That's weird.
Isn't it weird?
No, I haven't seen that because a lot of times kids are very, like when I go to the high schools, a lot of them are kind of intimidated by us. They avoid us. Not very many of them come up and talk to us.
Oh.
Really?
And yeah, they don't really come up and talk to you. A lot of times they kind of just, you're almost, in a lot of ways, you're almost a ghost. They kind of walk right by you and act like you don't exist. But I mean, you gotta understand, I'm in the Northwest, right? I'm working in
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the
right.
Seattle region.
They're good
Yeah.
at that.
And this is a predominantly liberal territory, so you got to understand that the mindset of people here is a little bit different than anywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not Texas.
It's definitely.
As of right now, they're saying this is probably the toughest area to recruit in the country.
Oh wow.
Because of a lot of it, but there's also a lot of more factors. It's not just a generational thing, but
There's
you have
more
a lot
money there, more wealth in
Yeah.
families.
Yes,
Yeah.
you got a lot of a lot of the big major companies that are here, businesses like you have Amazon, you have Starbucks, you have Boeing, you have Microsoft here, you have Google and all this other stuff. So there you got a bunch of stuff out
That's true. Yeah.
So
More opportunities.
yeah, more opportunities for a lot of people, and everyone here wants to work for Boeing essentially in this area. So and it's one of those things. But I mean, that's kind of our competition,
Yeah.
per se. And then you got a lot of people who just think they're going to go to school and they're like, well, I'm going to go to college and become a genius and make a bunch of money. And a lot of times, my job as a recruiter is to destroy that dream.
Sure.
You know?
Absolutely.
No, motherfucker, you're a failure and you're never going to be good at anything but infantry. Go.
No,
I'm joking.
It's my job to destroy the dream. I can't really say that. It's just that a lot of times I have to be the hard truth, and I have to let them know that, okay, look, your average college student who's going to go to school now and graduate in 4 years with a college degree is going to leave with an average of $80,000 to $90,000 in debt.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just for a bachelor's.
This
okay.
is interesting.
And then on top of that, you better hope you get a job or a degree that's going to make you enough money to pay off that student loan debt.
Yep.
So if you get a degree in liberal arts or not even that, I mean, you could say, well, I think I'm a really smart guy, because there's a lot of young men out there that think they want to go out and think they're going to study the human mind and get a psychology degree.
Everybody has a psychology
and they're like,
degree.
oh, I'm going to get a bachelor's degree in psychology. I was like, what are you going to do with a bachelor's degree in psychology? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Not unless you get a PhD. You're worthless unless you get a PhD. So, well, good luck. You know, and then you know, there's young people out there who are like, well, I want to be a cop, so I'm going to go do criminal justice. But while they're in college, they decided to go on some cocaine binge and, you know, get arrested for a DUI, and then now no police agency is going to hire them.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Criminal justice degree, you know?
I like this. You know,
they don't think a lot of times. They think, oh, I just go to college and I get out and they're going to hand me a job. And they're like, that's not how it works, man. It's just not. You're not doing enough research. You're not really looking into what you're going to do. And a lot of them that go to college, I would say a good solid like 40 to 50%, you know, and doesn't know what they're going to go to college for or what they're going to do after college.
Yeah.
You know, they just go into college because that's what they're led to believe that they should do.
Yep. They're
and
trained
that's
that
where
way.
success starts, and that's not true.
Yeah.
In all actuality, there's a lot of young people that are becoming a lot more aware and you know, basically understanding that, hey, maybe college isn't the best approach, and they're going to technical schools and learning special skills then making money that way. And they're actually making more money than these kids who go to college with these degrees. And then the other thing is that I'm like, okay, say you do get your degree. Say, hey, you do awesome, and you get a degree in something that's really good. Say you get a degree as an engineer or something, you know, an electrical engineer, hypothetically, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're one of many thousands across the entire country that have an electrical engineer job. So if you want that big paying job, how are you going to be competitive amongst your peers?
Right.
Why is any major company or big, you know, business going to hire you in that position over your peers? What is going to set you aside?
Right.
Because your 2.5 GPA isn't going to cut it. You know? So so a lot of times, you know, it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, for these young people to understand that, you know, it's not as easy as you think, and a lot of times and I don't blame them, because a lot of them are indoctrinated in the schools. They're led to believe by the education system that the best solution for, you know, a successful life is more education.
Yeah.
But you're talking to educators all day, every day for 18 years, you know, until they hit adulthood, telling them that that's what they're supposed to do, and they believe it.
Yeah.
So there's no one else out there telling them otherwise.
Right.
So parents in a lot of ways believe too. But this ain't the 80s anymore, and this ain't the 90s, and this ain't, you know, the 70s where you can go out and get a degree and you are one of few. Now you're just one of many where everyone can get a degree online.
Yep.
You know, and your competition is a lot more vast than what it used to be.
Yeah.
You have to have a master's now instead of a bachelor's, and then it's a doctorate. And it's funny, I like hearing you talk, because when I'm hearing you and your sales tactics, when I worked at University of Phoenix, I would talk to students a lot, and I would have to, or people that wanted to go to school, and a lot of times I ended up talking them out of going to school, and that's probably one of the reasons I got fired, because I was like, dude, you don't need to go collect a bunch of debt. Like, go to a fucking community college and see if you even want to go to school. Like, you're only going to school because you've been trained to think that you have to go to school. I'm like, go get an HVAC. I don't know. Like, but don't do this. Or I don't know how many people were like, I want to be a rapper. Do you have a music degree? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you have rappers over there in Northwest. I don't know. But, like, dude, I laugh
at rappers, because I'm like,
everybody's a rapper. Go World Star Hip Hop. That's like most of the videos are wannabe rappers. Chocolate Rain. I don't know. That's Tosh Point oh. But still.
I just see a lot of people that are kind of just set up for failure, and then you got a lot of them that can't get over that 1960s era stigma of the military, where they believe, you know, this is grandpa's military, and it's like the military's evolved and changed a tremendous amount compared to even when I first came in. And it's not like it used to be. I mean, you're not going to be told to do something that you're not trained or certified to do. Like, for example, even me, for when they put me in the recruiting business, you know, I had to go through training and certification to do this job. You know, they're teaching me everything that I need to know the ropes, and there's certain regulations and rules that I have to follow. And it's not as easy as snapping a finger and saying, oh, you're in the military, now go do this.
Right.
Now, I mean, everyone gets trained and certified. You can't drive vehicles on post anymore without having a civilian driver's license and that vehicle's driver's license.
Wow.
You can't transport ammo without having hazmat and a driver's license for that vehicle, and a TC with hazmat and a license for that vehicle.
Whoa.
Holy crap.
Yes. That is how extensive things have gotten. That's how things have really changed. And, you know, you're not going to do anything that you're not certified or trained for anymore at all in this military. You will go through a significant amount of training, and you are going to learn from SMEs, subject matter experts, and they're going to teach you the ropes, and you're going to have to, you know, qualify in whatever position or role that you have. Otherwise, you will not, you know, do your duties as planned. So there's a lot more to it than what most people, you know, kind of think. There's a lot more going. So it's not as simple as most people believe, where like, oh yeah, because a lot of people generally believe, well, hey, you know, if I don't make it in college, I'll just join the military.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. We want the best and brightest, you know. We want smart people, because, you know, we don't want to be your last option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if that's the case, then you definitely don't belong in this military.
Right.
Nice.
It's calling, you know, and it's something that you should take pride in, and it should be, you know, definitely a first or second choice at least, but not a last resort. It's definitely something that takes a certain level of commitment and mindset to do.
Right.
You have to condition your mind and body and deal with the daily stresses and the you know, adverse conditions that the military provides, you know, and on top of that, you know, politics and bureaucrats, and you deal with all that stuff, and it's very challenging, and it can be very stressful, but it's not for everybody. And I tell a lot of young people this too, you know, it's like, hey, you know what, the military is not for everybody, you know. If you don't want to join, or you can't join, or you feel it's not for you, let me know, and, you know, I won't think any less of you. Just go on and be about your way. Don't waste our time, and don't waste yours, you know.
Yeah.
So
that's what my recruiter told me. He saw me leaning up against my car,
like a chotch.
Yeah, just looking like a, you know, chotch, and he comes up and he throws his business card at me in my chest, and he goes, I heard you want to join the military. If you do, give me a call, but don't waste my fucking time. And then walked away.
Roger.
Oh, yeah, Roger.
He said Roger.
And I was like, oh, fuck, dude. I want to fucking go to that guy. Like, I want to do that. Like, just the way he approached me. And later, I still actually talked to the guy. And, yeah, he was a Cav Scout when he was in. Yeah, he was almost infantry.
Almost.
And or basically infantry.
Basically.
I've had so many Cav Scouts tell me that.
That's what I heard all the time when these Joes would call, and I'd get to talk to them on the phone, and they didn't know that I know what MOSs were. And I
always laugh at that sentiment, because the reason why I do is because it's like the fact that you had to mention us.
Exactly.
Already wrong.
Dude,
Like,
they didn't know they were talking to a grunt's wife, and they're like, well, you know, like, Cav Scout's, like, basically infantry, or, like, some dude was like, I'm an 88 Mike. I mean, that's basically infantry. I, like, laughed out loud, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I couldn't even finish the conversation. It was fucking hilarious. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
But, yeah, so anyways, you know, later, because I still keep in contact with that guy. My recruiter did not fuck me. He flat out told me, he was like, hey, it's going to suck sometimes, and sometimes it's going to be good. And he goes, but when it is good, he goes, it's the best, you know, time you're going to have in your life. But when it's bad, it's going to be the worst time in your fucking life. And, yeah, so he prepared me, I think, legitimately by just saying, because I told him, you know, he asked, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be airborne infantry. If I can't do that, I don't want to fucking do it. And but anyways, later he did tell me, he was like, man, I just saw you leaning up against your car. You just trying to look like the cool fucking guy. So I was like, man, I don't want to waste my time with this fucking dick. He's going to probably say something stupid, and I'm going to want to fucking punch him in the face. So I'm just going to throw my card at him and walk the fuck away. I was like, well, that shit worked. And I asked him, I said, did you ever try that method again? He goes, absolutely. There was 2 more times I actually did it because you told me it worked, that there was, guys kind of like you that I just threw my card and was like, just fucking call me. Don't waste my time, Roger. And just walked the fuck away. I was like,
good.
God damn, that's a great, it's not going to work for everybody. I get that. But, if you saw you, that's probably how you would want to be approached. Like, fuck, yeah, I want to follow this guy.
How were you approached? I want to edit that.
Rico?
Yeah, how were you approached to be recruiter? You just, walked into an office?
Oh, I went to the office.
Okay. We had those guys at school.
Oh, this is the life for me.
Yeah. Well,
I was born to fuck shit up.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm going to be all that I can be.
And I went and I called them, actually, and they came and picked me up. And within a week, I was already in the Army. So I was like, all right, I'm out here. I didn't even think about it twice. I was like, let's do this.
Nice.
But I kind of had that, belief system in my mind at around 15-ish. I decided that, I really wanted to go in the military. Yeah. Because I always thought everything about it was really, really cool and fascinating to me. And I was like, I want to learn things and do stuff that, normal people don't get to do. So, which I got to experience. And, that's one thing I enjoy about the job. I love the Army. I'd say the best time in my entire career was probably the first 7 years I was in. It was probably the best time of my life, Wow. So
nice.
After that, it was all kind of downhill slowly.
My best time was Alaska. I fucking loved it. It was a good group of guys.
Terrible. Yeah, we had a good group, and I think everyone stuck together pretty well, and we all fought hard together. And
no, I think that's it. I remember we would take the taxi signs, wire them up, put them on vehicles, cutting trunks off of taxis, because the SOP was you had to cut them off because they were snipers. They would pop out the tail light and they were taking pop shots at people. And I just remember, when we got to Taji, I think that's when I really started to notice how aggressive we were as a force. Like we
like a bunch of fucking
did not
animals.
act like anybody else, and you would see people just,
aghast.
Yeah, they'd look at you like, you're a fucking animal. Like, who are you people? And it just really stuck out that, man, we are not like anybody around here right now. And I think that's why they put us like way out in the fucking outskirts of Taji. Like,
Jesus.
Well, if they got to come here, let's stick them way over here. Like, let's not have them intermingle with us, though.
I think he said it the best. Rico was like, I think we were the piss in everybody's Kool-Aid. So I think, that's probably why they put y'all all the way out there.
I mean, at the phone.
Though, I tell you what, I mean, the stuff that we did, it was just hilarious. I mean, it was, man.
I tell everybody, it's like a grown man's Chuck E. Cheese, okay? That's what I consider war like, because, there are rules that you have to follow, but they're few. They're very few, and you can't do the same shit that we did in Iraq just anywhere,
Oh, no, man. That was the height of combat operations. No, you can't do any of that stuff. Hell, my last tour in 2009 and 10, I mean, there was a lot of, red tape around. There was a lot of things that we couldn't do. So it was, things were very restricted, and what type of, missions we did. And if we did patrols, we had to have a strong presence from the IA and or the Iraqi National Guard. And it wouldn't allow you to do certain things. You couldn't do raids anymore, and you couldn't, the rules of engagement was, completely, tightened up, so you couldn't really, engage anyone. And any time any of you got into any engagement after, I think after 08, everything was an automatic 15-6 investigation anyway. So
really,
even if you were justified in your actions, they would still do an investigation, just to iron out the rest of it. So it really sucked towards the end.
Yeah.
I had guys tell me that they had to count their rounds before they took off, and then when they came back, just to make sure they had accountability of every single one of the rounds.
That's crazy.
Some cases, yeah. I mean, depends. After 09, no, after 2010 they started doing that.
Really?
Yeah, after 2010, because then once they ceased all combat operations, that was it. Then then everything changed. I mean, they did that to us when we were in Cuba. When I was in Cuba and we were working on the compound there, they would count our rounds. If you were missing a round, it was on Article 15.
Oh shit.
You got to be accountable for your rounds.
Yeah, don't lose your rounds.
Dude,
Life of an
crazy.
infantryman, though. You know,
Yeah.
you should know where all your rounds are.
You know,
After every single mission, you would have to do a count, though.
Wow.
that's something too. Like, when Ryan got out of the military and he had to sit down to write his resume, it was kind of hard at first because he's like, "What do I write? I fucking kill people and crayon on this fucking piece of paper." And I'm like, no, you know, so, but when we sat down and like actually went over every single thing that he did, like with,
I don't think I ever said that.
No, I'm thinking that though. But I'm thinking is though, is like you guys had to be accountable of all this shit. This is like way more than most adults are ever accountable for.
Oh, especially
and you
at
guys
such
are
a young
like,
age.
That's what I'm saying. You guys are like 18, 19, 20, 22 years old, whatever. And you're fucking like accountable for millions of dollars in equipment.
TA-50,
people's
vehicles.
lives. Like, I mean, there's so many things. And so, and I hate that because like the only people that were like approaching him were like PepsiCo drivers. They're like, oh, well, you could be a PepsiCo driver. And I'm like, there is so much more
I'm
after.
not driving for Pepsi.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, there's
I'll drive
so
for
much
Coca-Cola, but not
more
Pepsi.
that you could do than be a goddamn Pepsi company driver. Like, come on. But then when he ended up getting picked up by Schlumberger and he was like in this supervisor position for like cement and they had to teach him math and it was like 6 weeks of math and I'm good at fucking math and he sat down and showed me this shit and I was like, I don't even know.
One problem was 2 pages long and
it was crazy.
You know, it was funny because they just sat down and gave us a class to teach us how to do this, and the first time they showed me I was like, I'm never fucking getting this. Like, I might as well walk out of here now. But the engineer that was teaching us, he was so patient, man. He reminded me of like one of those, you know, good lieutenants, not someone who was, you know, trying to look for his next promotion or whatever. He actually cared for the guys. He really cared for his men. He would sit down and just go line by line with me. And if I had a question, answer him, you know, he would answer it to where I could understand. Not just give me the answer, but break it down for me. You know, he brought his Crayola out for me, so
see, I told you.
He drew a lot of pictures for me, and yeah.
But he got it. And I mean, and the thing I guess too is like it just kind of was shitty the way that like the exit process was when they're just like, yeah, you can make like 30 grand a year. I mean, he ended up making really good money with, I call that our rock star phase, when he was working at Schlumberger, you know, because we were actually making money for the first time in our lives, and when he was working that corporate job. But I don't know. I don't think that the workforce or people give infantrymen enough credit for like what they actually do, you know, in combat. Like, yeah, y'all know maneuvers and stuff like that, but there's so much more mentally, like, I don't know. You guys have like way more mental fortitude. You guys don't take shit. People, you know what I mean? Like, when I was in a corporate workplace and I would have to get what y'all would call counselings, you know, and they would have to talk to me about how I talked on the phone to people, and they'd have to be all nice and shit. All I could think of was like Ryan sitting across from me being like, just do your fucking job. Like, just fucking, if you gotta call 80 people, call fucking 80 people and fucking talk to them and like do whatever. But like the way these other people, the way civilians and like the way they talk to you, it's like you're a kindergartner.
Yeah.
Almost sometimes. So I don't know. And it always seems like anytime Ryan worked somewhere, people like flock to him. And I noticed that like even with Gray, with his whole like the Seattle Seahawks thing like that he's doing, like all good shit. Like when people see good shit like that, like people flock to it and they want it. But then whenever they get it, sometimes they don't realize they don't want it. They're like, oh shit, this was serious. Like they're actually serious. And they're like, oh wait, I don't know if I wanted to open that. But either way, like you guys, it's like a magnet. I don't know. It's fucking weird. And I don't see it with every MOS. I see it a lot with more combat ops. And or people have done special forces, or people that have just seen combat or been in combat, and that are leaders in that kind of a situation. And y'all have this aura, I guess. And I don't think people give you guys enough credit for that.
I think it's a confidence.
Maybe that's, yeah. Okay, you know what? I could see it being confidence.
I mean, a lot of it has to do with the way we work amongst each other. So when you work with a bunch of dudes, right, and you got a bunch of dudes from all over the country, in some cases all over the world, you know, you got to have, gotta have something to get when you're put in a leadership position. You gotta have something to generate attention, so that way you can convey whatever message that you're trying to get across.
Right.
True.
So in a lot of ways, you gotta be somewhat charismatic. You gotta be, intellectual to a certain extent, or be smart or witty, to be able to, maintain or keep, those people that you're trying to train, keep their attention, so a lot of times I think that has a lot to do with it. That's the way we're trained and conditioned as soldiers, is to be able to deal with all these variety types of personalities, but able to get their attention and get whatever message you need to get across for the overall mission or whatever training that you're trying to conduct, so that way that person understands what you're trying to convey to them.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
So that way everyone is on the same page, and when you execute the mission or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, you're on the same page, and you're successful.
Yeah.
So that has a lot to do with it, and because I know through the years it's hard sometimes to deal with so many different types of personalities.
Yes.
And you're like, my God. And then some people just drive you nuts. I mean, you just want to put your fist through their neck, and you're just like, ah. And in other cases, you're just like, you don't want to be too much of a brute, and you want to, you can't go beating people up every day. So, I mean, you're just going to be tired.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out a method that works for you. And it's kind of a science in a lot of ways, is being able to, and a lot of it has to be knowing your soldiers, knowing your crowd, knowing who you're working with, and what you can get away with, what you can't get away with, what works, what doesn't work.
Yep.
And it takes a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
And I think at our age, where we're all grown men, and we're over our mid-30s at least, and we've kind of our ways of setting in. So a lot of the stuff that we've been learning over the years is kind of really conditioning us to make us what we are today, to be successful.
That's very well said.
And it has a lot to do with it, I think. And as soldiers, especially as combat soldiers, I mean, that's what we have to do. So a lot of times when we see problems, or when some people see problems, we don't always see the problems. We don't see it as like, oh my God, this is a problem.
A risk,
what do I do?
Yeah.
More or less, like guys like us, we see something that could be an issue, and they're like, okay, how am I going to do this?
Right. Right.
You're like, what's my end state? Let's backwards plan. Let's see, how am I going to,
unfold
spin this in the direction that I need it to go. You don't look at it, because some people will look at things and they already see failure, where other people can look at it and they see a plan, or they see a strategy. Or
they find the opportunity,
something to overcome. So they're like, I see an obstacle, but it's not something that's going to defeat me.
Exactly.
It's not a wall. It's like, it's an obstacle, so I can get over it.
I'll say that's what the military, I think, did best for me. Was I did not know your mind is so much stronger than you think, and your body, will be screaming at you saying, no, I can't go anymore. But you can tell yourself, hey, you got this. You can keep going. Yeah. You're not broke yet, so keep going. And when you start to, how do I say this? Right when you think, okay, I have nothing left, and then that mental toughness kicks in, and then you just kick it into high gear, and you're able to keep going. I think that's what the military did best for me. Just like you said, look at a problem. Don't see failure or just problems.
Just overcome it.
Yeah, how do I overcome this?
Yeah, I guess that is true. One of Ryan's favorite things
looking for solution. You're looking for the answer. So you're not looking for you're not looking at the problem and focusing just on the problem. You're looking for the answer. So
you learn how to break that problem down into small little tasks, and you just slowly start knocking them out one at a time until it's accomplished. But if you look at that as just one large problem, well, you got to just find that one string and just keep pulling on that string and keep unraveling it, because it'll start to show your opportunities to how you can get past this, or how you can defeat whatever,
That's true.
But I think in a lot of cases, all it takes is just a little bit of boldness, being
some balls,
just stepping out and executing. Because a lot of people, they have a tendency to freeze up. When they see problems, or they see something that intimidates them, they have a tendency to just want to stop what they're doing, and they stop dead in their tracks, and they essentially, in a lot of ways, get in their own way from being successful. So that was one thing I always told a lot of people, is don't overthink things. Don't get in your own way of being successful.
True.
Just execute. Just do it.
Yeah,
You know?
just do it, like Shia LaBeouf.
Like Nike.
Go through it. Exactly. You just go ahead and just execute, then you'll be fine. But if you sit there and beat it to death and overthink it, then you're going to be standing there a while, you know, not going anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, you're just going to get in your own way, and you're going to get in your own way of success, and you're preventing yourself from being successful because you're overthinking.
True. That's very true.
So just execute, you know, just do it. So don't hesitate, just act. And it's the same thing like in combat. Combat, you know, you're taking rounds from every direction. You don't know which way to move.
Yep.
You don't know which was the best answer. All you need to do is sometimes just move forward and return fire.
Yeah, no, that's a fact.
Yeah.
And that's the best answer that you can get.
Because that's really the only thing you can do right now. Yeah. Mount a defense.
That's funny.
And just move out. You know? And for me, that was always kind of the best answer. You know, I've been in situations where I'd be like, oh my gosh, what in the hell am I going to do? And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And just go.
Fuck it. See, you know, I was
Whatever
just...
happened, you know, and sometimes that was the best decision that I've ever made.
Yeah.
You know, when you said just fuck it, you made me think about... So I told you I was playing this game with Ryan, my oldest daughter. What is it called? Days Gone.
Yeah.
And there was this mission we had to do. And I don't know, there was like this horde of zombies in it. And I just looked at Ryan and I was like, fuck it, we're just going to do it. And she was like, I don't think that's a good idea. I was like, well, do you got a better idea? She's like, well, no. All right, fuck it, we're doing it then. And sure enough, we went in there, killed all these zombies and cleared that mission. And I don't know, I think hopefully she took something from that. Like sometimes the best action is just to
Fuck
go.
it, just do it.
Fuck it,
Yep.
you got to do something. Start somewhere. It'll unfold. I was watching this documentary about Ranger School. And it was so awesome because you had these, you know, this new lieutenant in, and he just has this mission planned out. I mean, line by line, his op order, I mean, it looked flawless. How can he fail? Well, because this guy still, I think this was his first training exercise. Your plan is only as good until the first shot is fired. Because that first shot could drop someone to the left of you. That first shot could stop you in your tracks, you know, to make you have to rethink your plan. But yeah, sometimes you just got to say, fuck it, dive in. And then as this chaos starts to unfold, you're the one that has to find this order in the chaos and make it work for you. So
Yeah, that's true.
For me, I think a lot of it has to do with just military culture. I mean, there's so many times in this army where, like, you know, I wasn't always the sharpest tool in the shed, you know, not always the brightest light in the chandelier, you know. So I had my moments where, you know, I was like,
we all do.
Man, I'm a retard, right? So I mean, like, a lot of times I realize one thing about the military is, and I learn even now, is that a lot of times I just sit back and I'm like, you know what, just wait. Let this happen, and then adjust fire from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just move out. And then, hey, we'll figure it out as we go. We'll be just fine, you know, because it always works out.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, so sometimes you just gotta
Make it work.
Move forward and go there. Sometimes while you're doing it, you can take a step back and be like, okay, is everything going smooth? All right, good. And a lot of times, like, I've noticed it, like, every time, any school that I ever went to, right? It's so confusing the first day. It's just terrifying, right? Any Army school the first day, you're just like, they're spitting out information. You don't know what the hell's going on. You ain't going to remember what the hell the guy said. They're just like, I don't know what's going on. I'm so confused right now. Do I need to remember this stuff?
Is this going to be on the test?
Yeah. Am I going to die?
So the first day is like, all right. And then after that, you get settled in, and everything's kind of usually easy sailing from there. But it's always like the first day is just chaos. And you're being flooded with all this information, and then, you know, you don't know which way is up and which way is down, and you're confused. And and through that experience, you know, sometimes I just learned it. You know what? I just sit back and wait. Out. It's not the end of the world. Like, everyone's going through the same thing I'm going through right now. So I'm pretty sure. I don't know, maybe I was just me, because I can be a little slow at times.
No, that's not just you, man.
No, it's not.
No, that's not you at all, man. Like I told you, I got into day one of having to do this math that's 2 pages fucking long, and I already was like, what the fuck? I'm never going to get this. Like, you know, I didn't know that they were going to actually have somebody come in, sit down with you one-on-one, and really teach you, like, as if you had a tutor. But had they not done that, and they just kept doing these, you know, on the board over and over and over again, fuck no, I would have never got this, you know? So like you said, you know, day one, I was just kind of like deer in the headlights, because when someone puts out one of these equations and, you know, all math is basically just, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division.
Right.
But, when they start putting letters and numbers together, and I'm just like, fuck, I only did Algebra 1. I never did Algebra 2, so I don't know what the fuck's going on here. And this was back in, 2000 or something when I took it.
Which proves Rico's point about when he talks to these kids that want to get into, doing all these college things. It's like, you know what? You're going to get taught whatever you need to know at whatever job you decide to do.
Yeah.
So, and I would tell people that in college. I'm like, do you think you had a exam at your job, and if you fail it, you get fired? Like, that's not real life, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, real life, there's no test. That's not real life. So college is not preparing you for anything but whatever, studying and writing papers and researching and being a bitch.
A lot of people, I think they overanalyze joining the military. There's a lot of kids come in the office is like, well, I need to prepare if I'm going to join. I'm like, prepare for what?
I need to lose 30 pounds and shave my head.
Bro, I was not prepared. I weighed 240 pounds. I was 6'2". When I took my first PT test, I think I did 13 push-ups, 15 sit-ups, and my 2-mile run was like, fucking Christ, like 20 minutes and 20 minutes and 20 seconds.
He was taking those yellow jackets trying to lose weight too. Like trying to
like now you can't do that anymore. Like the times have kind of changed, and if you're over a certain amount of body fat, like BMI, so like between the ages of 17 and 21, your BMI is supposed to be at 24% if you want to enlist in the Army.
Okay.
You have a set weight that you're not allowed to exceed, right? So like if you're over a certain weight, then they'll do your BMI, and then you have to make sure you're under 24%. So we don't take anybody who's overweight. So I mean, it's hard to get people in the military even still today. I mean,
with fat bodies,
there's all kinds of disqualifiers. I mean, if you have any type of depression or on any type of antidepressant medications, anxiety and like that, you're disqualified.
Is that
if
big?
you have DQ. If not, then you're going to have doctors clearing you of any of that stuff, and you have to be medication free for at least 12 months for them to even put in a waiver.
Wow.
If you're overweight, you can't be in. If you're not smart enough to pass a test, you can't get in. If you're, it's just a laundry list. Any medical issues, anything in the past locks people out. But the biggest one that hurts us, I say, is probably the being overweight one. There's a lot of people that are overweight. They can't get in.
Yeah.
We got 3 kids in our office now that are trying to cut weight to make it so they can join.
Now, do you guys work with them, do some PT with them, have them come to the recruiting station? And...
Yeah, we have them come down to the office every morning, and we'll do PT with them for about an hour.
That's cool.
Now, is it just you smoking them, or is it like you actually treating them like they're your squad or your platoon and
if it was up to me, I'd just be smoking them every day. But no, we got a couple guys in the office that are pretty good at training them for going over their diets and stuff like that. I mean, I can, but they're not my dudes. So essentially, I got to find some dudes of my own to recruit. But they're the recruits. I help out. Like today, I was talking to them about proportions. Setting portions aside and not overeating, and then eating the right kinds of food and eating healthy, and not, I was like, it just doesn't tie to eating, once a day or something like that. I was like, you got to cut certain foods out. Like I broke one kid's heart this morning because I told him he couldn't eat ranch anymore. Like, yeah, dude, you shouldn't be eating ranch. That's not
healthy. It's not great. Yeah.
Keep eating ranch, you're gonna stay fat. So
but I put it
I
on
heard the
my
Army
pizza.
was gonna move to a keto diet. Is that true?
Who?
The Army? They're talking about moving the chow halls to, I guess, a keto diet.
Well, no one told me anything about it.
Yeah, I saw it on the news the other day, or like on the Drudge Report. And
there's always a lot of speculation on new methods and different techniques or different ways that the Army's gonna do, and they never really follow through. There's kind of ideas that they throw out there. And
okay.
No one really fully follow throughs, and then if they do, it's probably only going to be a local thing that they only do at one chow hall or something, Hey, if you want to go to keto diet, go to this chow hall on this side of post or something,
Okay.
Oh, that's true.
Because them trying to tie that into the entire U.S. Army defense budget, I just don't see that happening.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's just one of those talk things.
Yeah, and they do a lot of that, Just like them talking about trying to replace the M4 rifle. They've been talking that for like the last.
What do they want to replace that with?
They're looking for a larger caliber.
That's good.
Right now they're entertaining the idea of like a 6.5.
Ooh, okay.
Maybe even a 6.8, but no one's for sure now. They're still testing a bunch of weapon systems out there, and no one knows what to do.
Right.
At least as far as I'm concerned. The last time I checked, but
did you see France's rocket man? France had they did like this military, I don't know, maybe appreciation or whatever, and they had some jets going out, blowing out red, white, and blue for their flag colors, and what was it? They had this guy on one of those jetpacks, and he was just flying around, had his rifle with him, and I was like, Jesus, that's cool as fuck. They send you to school for jet flight yet? for an infantry course?
That's a huge budget right there. Oh my god.
Seriously.
Man. I'd sign up to do that. That'd be badass. Fly around with rockets.
In like 50 years when it's possible.
That'd be cool. Dude, I want a hoverboard, like a real one.
It's like anything else. Like we have the exoskeleton systems, and we got all kinds of new gadgets out there, and pocket drones that they're even issuing now to some elements for testing. And,
nice.
And I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, as time moves forward and we lean more into this digital age, there's a lot of neat stuff that's going to hit the battlefield. I think
it's going to be very hard on the infantrymen in the future, because they are going to have like a Google Glass. They're going to have, like you said, these pocket drones. They're going to have more of these tools. So I think it is good that the military is taking only the best that they can get, because you're going to need the best.
You're investing in the
be
best.
able to operate some of this crap.
Yeah.
And you got to be a well-rounded soldier. It's not about just being a strong soldier, but you got to be a smart soldier.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
But I look at recruiting, and recruiting is tough because you got a lot of different people, and you got different types, and I think a lot of the people that we're faced with now is that you got like a lot of these young people that are just, they're not ready to be adults yet. I think
sure.
I mean, we had a 20-year-old kid, like I was talking to you earlier.
Mm-hmm.
This 20-year-old kid come into our office. Well, he's not a kid; he's a man. So, and he's all into the idea of joining the military. And I came up and I talked to him because one of my fellow recruiters was talking to him. So I figured I'd go over there and give him a boost. Give him some Rico attitude. So I went over there and talked to this kid, and I'm like, "Hey, man, so what's stopping you from joining the Army?" So I go up and I'm pretty blunt. I just go up there and go. So he's like, well, I don't know. And I was like, he's like, well, I want to talk to my mom about it first. I was like, why? He's like, well, because I just want to know what she thinks. I was like, what do you think she thinks? He's like, I don't think she's gonna like it. And I was like, how old are you? And he's like, 20. And I was like,
Jesus.
So you're a grown man. And he was like, well, yeah. And I was like, so how about you pop your mom's titty out of your mouth and grow the fuck up and join the goddamn Army?
Fuck yes. Did you really tell him that?
Yeah.
Fuck yes. That's awesome.
I look over at my fellow recruiter, and his eyes are just like wide open. He's like, oh my god, I can't believe you just told him that. And
I can believe you said that.
I was like, come on, man, you're a grown man.
Yeah.
I was like, make your own decision. You're not gonna live with your mom. You're 20 years old.
So did he join?
You to be a man.
Yeah.
Did he join?
He never came back.
He wasn't ready to get off his mama's titty, though.
That's
he wasn't
the problem,
ready.
though. I think we coddle people for so long, and we're still coddling people that are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, and it's like, what the fuck happened? Why are we still coddling people? We are all adults now, and because when you said, he's 20 years old, but he's not a kid, but he is a kid. I mean, I know people 40, 50, 60 years old, they're still acting like fucking kids.
Yeah.
They're waiting for everybody to tell them what to do, how to do it. I don't get it.
But it just gets to me because I'm just like, wow, you're 20 years old, And I was 20 years old when I joined the Army. I didn't tell my mom shit. I just did it.
I was 17. I had to get my mom's
like, hey,
signature.
Mom.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, guess what I did today? I'm going to Guantanamo.
Like, I'll join the Army. I'm going to Fort Benning, Georgia. Peace out.
Dude, I'm surprised we even got her to sign that. Honestly, you even did it.
I don't know. That's just stuff that you deal with. I mean, not only that, but drugs. Drugs is a big problem.
Oh, I bet.
Is it really?
Yeah, drugs is a huge
Well,
problem.
and
especially up here.
marijuana is legal in Washington where you
I had a lady call me from the hospital
Okay.
who was in like quarantine.
What?
She was in the hospital for using drugs. Asked me if she could join the military.
Oh my God.
Right? And I'm like,
No.
yeah, she could join the military. And well, initially it was just a phone call from a lady. So I was like, okay, well, let me get your information. So I'm like, where are you at now? And she's like, well, I'm at the hospital. And I'm like, what are you doing in the hospital? She's like, well, I'm in the hospital because of drug use. And I'm like, what kind of drugs? And she's like, oh, anything I get my hands on.
Oh, Jesus.
Meth, heroin, like.
I need to change my
life.
life.
Just naming some stuff I never even heard of before.
Are you serious?
Crack a deal.
Yeah, so she's like just going to town telling me all these, like she's got this badge of honor of all these drugs that she's done. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, yeah, you definitely can't join the Army.
Yeah.
So I was like, but you can probably maybe join the National Guard. I don't know. You should call them.
That's funny.
Jesus Christ.
Because I hate the National Guard. I'm sorry. I can't.
Just send them all their way.
Like, yeah, go
Hey, I got one for you.
Yeah.
You
She
can have
seems
her.
like a winner.
But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you deal with. I had another kid. This was a few weeks ago. Comes
Okay.
in the office. Comes in, looks like a young, strapping dude, ready to rock and roll. Looks like he would make a great soldier. Comes in, has a seat, start interviewing him, and he looks over and asks me, he's like, so what are we going to do about these satellites? And I'm like, satellites? I'm not following. And he's like, yeah, the satellites, they're in my head.
Oh, my
like,
God.
well, are you guys going to do something about those? And I was like, okay, buddy, literally, like right now, I don't know what you're talking about. I started freaking out myself. I'm like,
God damn. Is this that Area 51 shit?
Yeah, and I'm like, he's like, and then he waves his hand to his right over his chair, and he's like, you see these lasers? And then I kind of like,
what the fuck?
I look at him and I'm like, no, I don't see the lasers, buddy.
And he's dead serious.
Yeah, he's dead serious. I'm just like,
oh my God.
And I'm trying to figure out, like, well, how did we end up here? What's going on?
Yeah.
It's like, am I gonna have to put this guy in a chokehold right now?
Right. Is this turning into an active shooter situation? What's going on here? Jesus, man.
What the hell? So I'm tripping out on this kid, and I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know, man. Maybe you need to go talk to the Air Force. I mean, they're the ones that work for satellites.
They like satellites.
We don't do satellites in the Army.
We don't do satellites.
So he's like,
That's fucking great.
come out the freaking door, and he was gone. I was like, he comes back every once in a while, about maybe once a month. He'll come by and ask us about satellites.
Oh, what a
Are you
weirdo.
serious?
That's crazy.
Wow,
I don't know if
man.
the kid's on drugs or what his thing is. I think he's on drugs. So, and that's just not even the full extent of it. I mean, that's every time you got people coming in. There's someone who's on drugs or using drugs, you got people like, hey man, I just did like meth 2 days ago, and I'm like, yeah, you're definitely not joining the Army, dude. Sorry.
Yeah.
We had one dude. We were on the we were driving through the city, and we pull up to the stop sign, and there was this guy who's like picking up the grass and he's shoving it in his pants.
What?
Like shoving grass in his pants, not in his pockets, in his pants.
What? This is a guy you're trying to recruit?
No, he said
No.
it was just a
I
guy.
was driving. We were looking for someone to recruit, and then we hit the stop sign and see this guy on the side of the
Oh
sidewalk.
my God.
Well, definitely we shouldn't be recruiting here. But yeah,
Oh my God.
his pants, and that's kind of the Seattle area for you right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Have
Dude, I'm going to
people
tell you.
doing weird things.
When we were up there, like, there was this guy, 2 dudes, no pants.
In Olympia, Washington.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, yeah. So anyway, yeah, and they were face down at a gas station on the grass with their asses up. One had shit smeared all over his butt. And I'm like, first off, it was just me and the girls, and we're just like looking out this window like, what the fuck?
What the
This
fuck?
dude either shit himself or the other guy fucked him and the dude had a blowout. Like, I don't really know what happened. So the girls were just like, Mom. And I'm like, girls, this is bad decisions in life.
This is why you don't do drugs, kids.
This is why we don't do drugs.
This is why you do
But
not
they
do
were
drugs.
I have videos of people walking into the street poles and the
Like
street
zombies.
lights and like just walking into it. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It was scary. It was scary in some of
It's
the
bad
downtown places.
in Western Washington right now. Western Washington is
Really?
really bad because I believe it has to do with a lot of the policies that the Seattle is kind of implemented, and with the safe injection sites and you know, them not dealing with the homelessness issues and stuff, and it's kind of become a magnet for the entire pretty much, I would say, West Coast. You got people from all walks of life coming up here because they're not being, you know, punished for any of these things that they're doing. You know, no one's cracking down on the drug stuff or these meth heads up and down the streets. You know, and right outside our office, there's a new person panhandling out there with a cardboard sign. It's like a new person every day.
There's tons of homelessness up there for sure.
I'm like, where did all these people come from? And I'm
right.
like, I'm from this area. It was never like this 10 years ago.
Wow.
It was not like this 10 years ago. So I don't understand it, but it's crazy. But and then you got, you know, these politicians out here saying, "Oh, we need to help these people," and I'm like, "What more do we need to do for them? We're already tied the cops' hands behind their back. They can't do anything about these retards roaming around on the streets."
It's crazy.
And you got all these meth heads and you know, homeless people from all walks of life all over the freaking probably Midwest and West Coast that come up because they created this safe injection sites and don't harass the homeless people, and they're out there getting high, doing weird shit downtown, like weird stuff, you know, dropping a deuce, and it's all along the West Coast. You know, this is all Democratic policies that are going all the way through the West Coast. You got all the way from, you know, Southern California all the way to Oregon, Portland, into Seattle, and it's like. And people keep electing these retards, and it's like, look at what they're doing to it, you know? And it's like, why are you doing this?
Why are you doing? And then they're all going to fucking Austin, Texas, from California, and everybody in Austin's like, go the fuck away.
And that's what makes me upset, because I'm like, these damn Californians are going everywhere. They're going to Idaho.
They're
too,
in Arizona,
houses and land.
What
they're doing it here. They did it here in the housing market. The reason why the housing market is blown up and so damn expensive to live in the Western Washington area around Seattle was because all these people who bought all the land and the houses in this area,
fucking HOAs,
jack up the prices. And now a normal house in this area is like almost $400,000.
Wow.
You look at the house and you're like, yeah, that's not definitely worth no $400,000.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
They're like, what the hell? You know? So, but all the people that own the houses in the area aren't even from here. They don't even live here. There was a lady that was trying to rent a house to me when I was first moving back to the area. She lived in Canada. There was another one that lived in New York that was trying to rent a house to me. Another one that lived in California that owned a house here.
Oh, wow.
None of these people that were trying to rent me a house from this area or lived here. I was like, what the hell?
Wow.
I was like, no wonder the housing market's all jacked up, you know?
Yeah.
What the hell's
I used to work at Hagen Associates. It was like a real estate appraisal office up there in Fairbanks, and like he had a house in Washington. His mom had a house in Washington. Like everybody in their family, but they were from Fairbanks. But like they all flew down like in the wintertime to Washington, and that's where they were. But I mean, there's a lot of Californians in Arizona too. In fact, they have posters everywhere like "Don't California up our state" or something like that. Like,
they're fighting it bad here.
Like no vote no on whatever. Say no to California laws and shit.
California dreaming.
Yeah, California dreaming. That was the one. Yeah. So it's everywhere.
We don't want California dreaming.
And
I think
that
is what it said.
Yeah.
Some of the reason we even decided to stay out of Central Texas, I think, was because a lot of the policies, like Williamson County was really fucking clean, and that was the county right outside of Austin.
We say it was like a police state.
It was
we
a
loved
police
it there.
state.
It was great. I would do ride-alongs with constables and sheriff's friends of mine.
It was clean. It was a very.
But
it's actually
clean.
It's on fucking live PD all the time.
Yeah.
Williamson County. It's really funny to watch.
But when we went to Washington, you know, going from Texas, we were like, "Wow, what the fuck
Yeah,
happened? Like,
that was
where are
crazy.
we at now? Where you got guys on the side of the road with their pants down, shit everywhere, zombies walking into fucking walls. You know, like looks like they're glitching out in a game.
Yeah.
Never used to be that way here. Never did.
It got really bad. I guess
it was a lot different, but you know, it's and a lot of people don't understand. They get caught up into a lot of the, you know, the political storm.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not shy about it. I mean, you see my Facebook page.
Man, I love watching you get onto these Facebook rants. I'm not gonna lie.
Great.
The last one, I remember it started, somewhere to do with politics, and then, George W. was brought into it. Then World War II got brought into this, and I remember you finally just sat back and you were like, "What the fuck are you talking about now? I don't even know where we're at in this conversation." And you had about 6, 7 people in there that were just doing that Michael Jackson meme, eating popcorn. Like, I'm just here for the comments. And man, that thing was like went 6 seasons, 9 episodes. It was fucking fantastic. That last one I saw.
Oh my God.
Things got so, I don't know, things have gotten so out of control with all this like hippie bullshit, and I'm just like, what the hell? It's like people ain't living in a realistic world anymore. Everyone's crying about the past now. It's like, oh, I'm glad you finally decided to educate yourself, and
right.
And now all of a sudden you're upset over some shit that happened 250, 300 years ago,
right?
Or 400 years ago, or 500 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like, seriously, like, how has this hurt you in your life and
right.
damaged so much that like right now you just can't deal with it.
You can't function.
Who's that comedian that you just watched, Ryan, that he was like, isn't it fun to make white people feel bad?
Oh, Aziz Ansari.
Was that who it was? Yeah, he was like, man, he said, it's like a trend or something. Like, it's like, just make white people feel bad.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I
Yeah,
understand.
sure.
Hey, America has a dirty past.
Absolutely.
But
sure.
I mean, I think a lot of people aren't very realistic
No,
about it.
not at all.
There's a
and
reason we're awesome,
hey,
too.
this is planet Earth.
Yeah.
Fucked up shit happens everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we live in a really great place.
Including America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're a great country.
Yeah,
we
we
do
are.
our best to make up for some of the wrongs that have been done. And,
Sure.
But now everything is so touchy-feely where people can't stand their own history. Now they're trying to destroy history or stand in monuments and be like, it represented racism. And I'm like, well, it's a part of our history.
So we
Why
forget
would you
about
wanna
it?
Destroy that. Yeah,
exactly.
like,
that's the problem.
That's not
you
what you want to do. I was like, we should wear it as a badge of honor. It's a black eye. It's something that we have to wear around and acknowledge.
So you don't forget about it.
Yes.
We will never go back to being that way again.
Absolutely.
We'll never be that country again. We'll always be better.
Exactly.
But, there's some people that just, I don't know what they want to do. They just want to go jump off a bridge or something. I'm like, dude, sorry.
Go fucking do it then, dude. We don't need you.
I would have helped you out. I would have done something about it.
I brought that ladder.
Yeah.
But I mean, shit sucked back then. It's what happens. But people only want to remember history when it benefits them, though.
Absolutely.
See, they don't want to remember everything about history. They just want to remember the parts that are beneficial to them or their agenda.
Feel like a victim, just
I can't stand the Democratic Party. I hate them and everything they've done. And you look at what they've done to our society. Look at what they've done to the West Coast so far.
Yeah.
And they're just destroying it from the inside out. It's like eating itself away. And they think these guys are so genius. I don't know why people keep electing them. They're overtaxing their people. Look at Seattle. Seattle is overtaxed. They're like, oh, we need a soda tax. We need an ammunition tax. We need a gun tax.
Dude, there's like a
we
lumber
need additional
tax.
38-cent gas tax.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're taxing your people into submission. This is not what's supposed to be happening.
That's what they want. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Seattle needs a new walkway for its park. Let's tax the rest of the entire state so they can pay for it.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. And no one sees it for what it is, or no one sees them for what they are. And I mean, like, to me, I think Democrats are the most racist people on the planet.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're pandering to people of color to get elected so they can use them for their own agenda to accomplish what they want so they can gain more control and more power over the people. They want this totalitarian control type style, this whole police state where, hey, only government and police should have guns.
And that's crazy.
That
no one
fucking kills me, man.
No one can talk about, and that's scary. I mean, like,
that is
no one's
scary.
really thinking about that stuff, saying, hey, you know what, this is kind of messed up. What are they really trying to do? Because they're not always going to be in charge. So what they're trying to vote, and this is what I tell a lot of people, is that, you know what, that person's not always going to be in charge.
Yeah.
What if there's a bad guy that ends up being in charge and those rules are in place?
Right.
It screws everybody over.
Right.
That's how, dictatorships begin.
Hitler.
It's like, you're just setting itself up for that.
Yeah.
And then you got all these, socialists coming out of the closet, coming out and like, yes, I believe in socialism. Government should be in control of everything. Anyone who's been in the army should definitely know the government shouldn't be in charge.
Right. Right.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, you guys want fucking government-run healthcare? Go sit in the fucking VA for like a day and tell me after that you want government healthcare.
It's not that. It's just that when you have the government running things, the government fucks everything.
Yes, they
Yes.
do all the time, and you're fucking, and they lose everything. And you
But why would you want them to be in charge of everything? Everything has been fine until those guys been in charge. They can't even agree on stuff, and then you want them to be in charge just to get what, $800 in freaking welfare check and $400 worth of food stamps? That is definitely not worth it.
Yeah.
People want to be told what to do, and I noticed when we were in California, we were there for 3 months in the redwoods at Klamath, California, and this place was called Jefferson State. Have you heard of it? It's like the part of California and Lower Oregon. They want to like secede and have their own state. They're a bunch of preppers and stuff, but I don't know how hardcore they are. Anyway, we were work camping at an RV park, and the guy that owned the place, he was a part of the Jefferson State movement and stuff. But anyway, fuck. I forgot what I was saying.
They just want to, so it was Southern Oregon and Northern California. They wanted to break away from Oregon and California to create Jefferson State. And they have a ton of bumper stickers, T-shirts, a bunch of merchandise. And so Northern Californians are tired of being taxed for L.A. And like you were saying in Seattle, we want this new walkway. Let's tax the whole state for this new walkway, right? Well, they get all their water, I guess, or not all, but they get some of their water from Northern California, and so Southern California is taking a lot of their resources, they feel, and then Southern Oregon says, well, the same thing is happening to us, but in Portland, we're getting taxed for everything that these people in Portland want. We just want to break away and say, hey, if you want to do this and you have all these grandeur ideas of taxing everybody into submission, cool, let us break away. You're going to have to now pay us for our resources that you need. Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting listening to some of those guys talk. Some are very, very passionate about it. Yeah. Some have a really good plan for this. Some don't. But it's it's fun listening to all these different ideas that these Jefferson State members have, and it's not even a real state yet.
Well, I remember what I was going to say, but when we were there, like we ran the front office and had to like take reservations for RVs and stuff, and people would come in and like they just wanted to be told what to do. Like if we gave them a decision, like where do you want to park your rig, they would choose a decision and then come back an hour later and be like, I don't like where I'm at. Like literally, like I just don't like what I decided. And and I'm not going to say, okay, yeah, I will say it. Most of them were West Coast. And some of them were from other countries. And, but they didn't like their own decisions. And it was kind of like, and then I found when I just told people like, oh, this is the only spot we have available. It's perfect for you. They're like, okay. And they just eat it and they don't say shit about it. So, and I think it's a mentality thing. I think just weak-minded, people, they don't know what they want, so they just want to be told what to do because it's easy, and, they're used to being told what to do, so that's why they keep voting for the same people, because those people are just telling them what they need to do, and it's easy.
Well, I think a lot of it, from my perspective, I think a lot of it has to do with, like, programming and indoctrinating and leading people to believe, like, look at who controls most of the media outlets. I mean, the Democratic Party controls most of the media outlets, whether it's Google, CNN, MSNBC, ABC News. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Or even like a lot of the other, social media outlets, they're all controlled by Democrats. Or look at the celebrities, all these rich celebrities crying about American policies or complaining about politics or world policies and stuff, and you're like, what the hell? Who asked you? You're a person that pretends to be something else your whole life. That's what you get paid to do, just play pretend.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would anyone listen to you? Because you're rich? Yeah. I'm like, that's so messed up. Like,
I have money.
You're a dude
listen
playing
to
a dude
me.
pretending to be another dude.
Exactly. So it's like, where do you get the credibility to even speak on this issue?
Right.
What made you a leader? Just because you're a rich person and you're crying for the poor people, but you don't do anything really for the poor. You just want to bash the big orange man because that makes you look good. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. But the odds are stacked against the man, and no matter which way he turns, I'm not a person that says, hey, he does no wrong. I mean, he doesn't always say the smartest things, but I like to think of him as a normal dude that just kind of says what
his
he
candor.
Thinks, and he's not trying to manipulate people. He's not trying to, he's not trying to, feed you a bunch of bullshit like some other presidents have. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He's just like, he's gonna speak his mind, and
Yeah.
that's it. And I like that.
I do too. We needed that, dude.
I respect that. I'm like, yeah, at least he's telling you what he thinks. He's not gonna deceive you or lie to you or manipulate you like other presidents have.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, yeah, you know what? He might not be the brightest light in the chandelier, but he does rely on his smart people to give him the information that he needs to make the best decision possible. And I think that's the best way to do things. That's what we all do, especially as leaders in the military. You know, we have experts that give us information to help us make better informed decisions. But I mean, there's no way, it's impossible for one man to know everything. I mean, that's just the way it is. Not one man is going to be an expert in every single thing. It's just not the way it works.
No. That's why you surround yourself with those people.
people.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
why he surrounds people with smart people. And he said he would do that before he got elected. But the man's literally doing everything that he said he would do.
Dude, taking like $1 as a salary.
And everyone's mad at him for it.
Come
like,
on.
Well, what he said, but everyone's pissed as fuck about it. But
Yeah,
either way,
people
I
aren't
mean,
gonna
I don't want to get too much into politics, but the thing is that it has a lot to do with what we do and how effective we are in recruiting too. It does affect recruiting and how many people want to join the military. You know, I've had people come into the office and say, well, Trump was elected president, so I'm not going to join the military. So we're like, well, buzz off then. We don't want you to work for us.
Right. Yeah. You know, Obama didn't really bring troops back from Iraq, right? Like, when he
in my
said
opinion,
he
I
did,
think
he did
Obama did the worst for our military out of it, like anybody. I mean, he
even Clinton? You think even
gutted
Clinton?
us.
Yeah.
I mean, he reduced our numbers so bad that now we're trying to make up for it, and that's why we're sucking in recruiting.
Yeah.
They upped our numbers 2 years in a row, and we're like, what the hell? So we're trying to make up for numbers that were lost.
Yeah.
Because last administration gutted us completely, and you know, to me, I mean, just logically speaking, I would say, well, if you were complaining about all these threats around the world, about Russia and China, and, you know, Iran and North Korea, but at the same time you gut your entire military force, the smallest numbers that we've ever had since before, you know, World War I. It's kind of like,
wow,
whoa, what the hell? You know?
Wow,
we're smaller than what we were before the Iraqi war started.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because Clinton, he downsized a lot, and then Bush came in and kind of like pushed it up. And maybe that's just the Democratic thing. They just downsize the military and push the money somewhere else, you know, wherever their little interests are.
You know, it's not, I mean, it's not like it's a big secret. I mean, everyone knows that the Democratic Party is kind of primarily anti-military.
Right.
They don't like, you know, anything
like
to do with us. They don't, I mean, a lot of them live in a fairy tale world. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that believe in this fairy tale world where, you know, we can just talk out our problems and maybe go hug it out or skip under rainbows. But a lot of but in the cold, hard reality of the world is just not the way it works. I mean, because a lot of those people believe that shit and never been to a third world country.
Yeah. That is a problem.
You know, and a lot of the policies. I mean, look at all this shit where this gay person, that freaking diversity and freaking, you know, transvestites, you know, like no one knows which bathroom to use. Like, how the hell did that become confusing?
You got me,
I
man.
agree.
And diversity is important, but it's not to the point where you start strong-arming people to do it, you know, like, or you pick someone else who's, you know, qualified for the job, but you pick someone who's not so qualified just because of the color of their skin.
Right.
I mean, that's just wrong, you know, and you just kind of see a lot of that happening. And you just don't understand where we're going with it, or where they're going with it, or what their overall goal is. I don't understand what they're trying to make happen. I mean, we get it, you know, we understand that, hey, things have always been kind of messed up in the minority side, and, you know, but it doesn't mean that you got to rig the game so that way that the loser wins and the winner loses. It's kind of, that's not cool either.
You know, I didn't really understand the whole fight for gay rights until my sister sat down and talked with me, and she's a lesbian, and she stated, you know, the reason why I think the reason why I want my rights is because she couldn't get married to her wife, but they were in a hospital, and this woman had never talked to her parents after the age of 18. Now she was like in her early 30s at this time, and I guess because they're not married, she couldn't sign anything for her, you know, wife that she couldn't marry, and so the parents had to come in and make these, you know, huge life decisions for a daughter that you know the daughter doesn't want anything to do with. And, you know, that brought in a lot of understanding for me, because something as simple as that, you know, my sister couldn't even make decisions for her wife because that's not her wife. And they were not allowed to get married, so they didn't have the legal protection of, hey, I can make the decisions for you. No, it reverts back to, you know, these parents that didn't like their daughter because of her life choices. So when she put it like that, for me, it really got me to understand and kind of grasp they do need their rights. So just for simple things like that.
Just all kinds of stuff. But also at the same time, I'm upset. Like, yeah, cool. I don't care. Okay, I'm more libertarian. I don't give a shit.
I'm not left or right. I'm
people
libertarian.
do, but here's the thing, right? The minute that your rights affect me and take away my rights, that's where I'm going to get pissed. Or if you want to go do black tar heroin in your house next door, go fucking do black tar heroin. But the minute that shit comes into my yard, or you try to sell that shit to my kids, or my kids see you doing that shit, now we have a problem. But it's like, you know what? I don't care. If you want to be a fucking dragon, go be a fucking dragon. I don't care. But the problem is, like, gays did fight for those rights, and they fought for a long time. A lot of them died. People were killed. There's a lot of hate crime, whatever. It happens. Every group in America has had to fight for their rights to be an equal. And it sucks, whatever. But that's who we are, okay? We're fucking tough motherfuckers. But I don't like... and I know a lot of lesbians and gay people that feel the same way. They aren't really appreciating the way the transgender community is now coming in and like taking all these rights and like kind of stomping all over the progress that the gay people have made. And it's kind of bullshit, because it's like, dude, hold on a second. You guys don't even know.
I think they've taken a lot of things way too far.
I agree.
I mean, you got a kid, you know, trans kid running around, and you got adult males giving him dollars and stuff like he's some kind of stripper.
Oh, I've seen that one. Yeah, I've seen that.
Ridiculous. I mean, my wife showed me that, and she was like furious, and I was like, oh, this stuff is disgusting. And then I was like, this is what we've come to. I mean, this is like that California utopia, though. That's what they want. And it's like, how do they? I mean, I don't understand how they do not understand that. It's like, that's so messed up. I mean, it's, to me, I'm just like, and that's why I think I've gone so far right. You know, I never used to be that way. You know, I used to be kind of in the middle. You know, I was in the like, hey, either or, everyone's got their points and everything.
Right.
But because the way the left has gone so far left, and they've done all these extreme things, that it's like I've got no other choice but to go far right, because I'm like, you know, screw these guys, you know, because any way that I can combat them or try and stop them from doing what they're doing, then I will. Just because it's damaging our country, it's damaging our people, it's damaging our society.
There's definitely a different way to go about it.
And the way I go about it is, hey, Trump 2020.
You know, I really do. And I didn't vote. The last election before Trump's, my vote didn't count. I got an official letter that says it didn't count, so fuck that. But here's the thing. I was hoping he would win, because I just was like, I want someone with some fucking balls. I want somebody who can negotiate, who's a business person, because we're in so much fucking debt. We need somebody who knows how to run a fucking business, because this country is in the, like, negative. You know, like, we're suffering.
Is the economy booming right now? Yeah. And right now, he's negotiating with these countries that have been ripping us off for years.
Dude.
And I've been saying, yeah, all these countries that are getting aid or getting money from us and that are ripping us off.
Yes.
I was like, you know what? That shit stopped, because you know what? It's not getting us anywhere.
No.
And then you got all the Democrats crying about it. Like, how are you upset about this? It's like he's only trying to benefit the United States. I mean, like,
are you against us? Yeah.
You know, one thing I think that
what they rather tax the fuck out of us until there's nothing left.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is with this taxing, and I try to explain this to people because I just woke up to this. When you say tax, not you, but when someone says tax the rich, the problem is it's not the rich that get taxed. These 1%ers, they don't have ordinary income.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have it. They have portfolio income and they have passive income. And so if you're only taxing ordinary income, you're not taxing the rich.
No, they've hidden their money.
No, because they don't have a paycheck.
Right.
Or a very small one to where they're not getting. They have assets.
Yeah.
and they're constantly moving their money around. They'll sell a piece of real estate, throw it right back into another piece of real estate. And so, sure, it looks like they have millions of dollars, but no, now it's just been put back into another home, which it's not a bad idea. That's smart. They are smart with their money. But when people start screaming out, tax the rich, all they're doing is taxing themselves more, the working class people, the 9-to-5ers. Right. And as soon as you start to raise the taxes on the quote-unquote rich, you're just raising the taxes on yourself, because you don't have the financial intelligence that they have. Yeah. And if you don't have that financial intelligence, you don't know how to spend your money correctly. Yeah. So that way you're making more money, but also hiding it from tax man. That way they don't have to lose most of their money. And so another thing I was going to say was, so what's kind of baffling to me is once Trump got into office and people on the left, they started really just kind of breaking down. And
they did.
It was funny because if you have, if you're in your late 20s or, late 20s on, you've gone through a couple presidents before.
Right.
And so I served when George W. Was in office, okay? And I saw, the left, which is they didn't like him, and it was, he's a bad man. And then he gets out, Obama becomes the president, and the right freaks out. And then all the doomsday prepper shows started coming up. It was the end of the world. It was Armageddon. Everybody on the right had lost their goddamn mind. And boom, now Trump gets in, and now again we go back to the left losing their fucking mind, and he's the worst guy, and it's just political theater. And
it is.
People need to grow up to the fact that, guess what, even if Trump gets out of office now, or doesn't make it for 2020, what's going to happen? Now the right's going to start doing the same stuff again, and it's just a big pendulum swing. And it just, when do people actually kind of take an omnipotent view with this and say, I'm not going to participate in this bullshit anymore, not just in government, period. I just mean in this fake outrage.
Well, a lot of it
like
is
Nancy
Pelosi, and it depends on which media outlet that you're watching, essentially. But, I mean, like I said, the majority of them are controlled by the Democratic Party.
Right.
So, I mean,
fake news.
Like, for example, look at Obama, right? I initially, when he was first elected, I voted him for the first time around. I thought he was a smart guy. I thought he was going to do well. Yeah. I liked him. He was charismatic. He seemed like a easygoing person.
Sure.
And I was like, let's give him a shot. So it wasn't until his second term that I really decided, I don't like this dude.
That was most people, I think.
Really made me mad, because that's when he started doing some, kind of like bold things, and I was just like, what the hell, like cutting our military so deep, and it was just ridiculous. I mean, the first term I didn't mind him too much, but the second term I was like, what the hell? Yeah. But even while I was in the military, because as long as I'm active duty, it doesn't matter who's president, I'm going to support them no matter what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think people forget that. I have to uphold both.
You
don't?
I don't get to choose. This is the third president I've worked for so far, so I'm like, well, it's the same rhetoric, just, different person.
Respecting
so it's like,
the position, though,
It is what it is. But ultimately, I respect the presidency.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It doesn't matter who's president. I'm not going to slander president like Obama. I never said a bad word about him while he was president. It wasn't until after he left office, then I started talking shit. I was like, well, fuck that guy. But while he was president, I respect him and his position. Just like anyone else who is in a leadership role in our element, you're gonna respect them in the position. They used to always have that saying, respect the rank or not the man. But it is what it is. Yeah. There always has to be some level of respect.
It should.
Absolutely.
You have to respect the position, because it doesn't matter who gets in there. It honestly doesn't.
It really doesn't.
It honestly wouldn't have mattered if Hillary Clinton would have gotten in office.
Oh, fuck.
No. I mean, everyone wants to make jokes about it and everything, but if she would have got into office, think about it. She's not going to do any better of a fucking job. I'm not going to do any better of a fucking job. Nobody's going to do a better fucking job, because that position has gone bonkers, because we are now 320 million strong in this country. You got one person trying to make a decision for 320 million people. Yeah. And again, we are a melting pot of cultures.
Yeah. You're going to
offend somebody, because somebody is going to be from, that country that maybe we're not giving aid to any longer, or we're going to offend somebody. And so this crazy outrage that comes from the left and the right, it's just kind of, it's gone a little insane, to where you have adults, like you said earlier, they're just not living in the real world. Yeah. They don't have a firm grip on reality. There's a lot of people on all these different types of medications, And these
Yeah.
medications for, like, say, pain medicine is why we're seeing this surge right now with all this opioid crisis.
Yep.
And that's
Yes.
why they're cracking down on doctors
Yeah.
that were overprescribing.
Yep.
So we have people that are not in their right mind because they're on these, SSRIs or mood stabilizers or whatever.
Dude.
And they're forgetting we should be at least respecting this position because it doesn't matter left or right. We got to get rid of the tribalism of left and right and come back to the center and say, hey, wait a minute, guys, we're all in this together. And if we can't just have a dialogue, if we can't just talk about this, nothing's going to get accomplished because it doesn't matter if you're on the right and the left's in charge. You're not going to like whatever they want to do, and then vice versa when the right's in charge. We got to go back to respecting just that position. That's it, because the person that fills it is just a fucking straw man anyways. He's just on strings, trying to appease fucking everybody. And it was kind of funny though watching the Democratic debate. And somebody did a pretty good, editing job on it to kind of drive it home. But it was all about, I'm going to give this free shit. I'm going to give that free shit. But with what fucking money are we giving all this free shit? Like, we are already, $22 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
Well, we'll raise taxes. Well, fuck.
We'll take away from the
You're not
veterans.
raising the taxes on the rich.
It's
You're
not
raising the
working.
taxes on the working class. It's not
We're
working.
paying for it.
Yeah.
You're paying for it. It's not free. We're all paying for it. So
Yeah.
essentially, they're just like, yeah, you're gonna pay for it. We're just gonna deduct it from your check.
You don't have a say in it.
Don't
Just-
worry about it. We'll
Yeah.
take care of it on the front side. You'll never see it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Check will be smaller, but hey, don't worry. It's free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's free. You'll get it.
So, yeah, I just...
It doesn't make sense.
This
But
world's gone
that's
upside
what
down.
bugs me. Yeah, it's crazy. And I don't know. Honestly, I look at the system, and I've lost a few friends because of the political battle and stuff.
Yeah. They'll be back
But
Taking it too-
around.
those are fake friends, man. Those are fake friends to begin with. If all of a
Well,
sudden
hell,
your
there's a-
politics
there's a-
offends them, they need to do
There's
some
a
fucking
couple
growing up.
that I've served with, that are
Damn.
just like back even as far back as 03 from invasion of Iraq. That dude just went completely left side bonkers on me over the whole border thing. And people don't understand is that when it comes to the border, they don't. I think a lot of times they just don't get it. I mean, it's like when it comes to the border and Mexico, no one's holding Mexico accountable. No one's holding
No.
South America accountable for their actions.
No.
Everyone wants to wants to blame us, but we're not.
We're not
we didn't
doing
gr-
anything.
They're coming here
We're
on
just-
their own at their own free will.
Yeah.
And there's even a YouTube video that I shared a little while ago, and they're actually advertising in South America, parts of South America, and some of the countries down there, and even parts of Mexico, saying yes, come to the United States, they will take care of you.
Follow
There's
the
free-
money on who's advertising that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then it doesn't help the Democrats, are trying to create sanctuary cities, encouraging people to break federal law and hey, come here, don't worry about the ICE and feds because we'll take care of you. And they're actually,
Suing.
setting a bad example and creating the situation, making it worse. And they're the ones that are drawing all these people in, and no one's holding them accountable.
No.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, you know what, you're encouraging people to break federal laws.
That's
What is
crazy.
the matter with you? You're like, you're not supposed to do that. And these people work for the federal government. I mean, you got people in the Senate and Congress, and they're the ones that are doing this, and all they're doing is pandering people, so they can stay in power or votes or to
Yeah.
We need term limits.
We do
and
need
then
term
they're trying
limits.
to maintain
Holy
some
shit.
type of it's just ridiculous all in all. So it drives me crazy because I can see through the bullshit and
Sure.
I see what they're, and I'm just like, man, you guys are so fucked up, man. I can't believe people eat this shit up.
Yeah, they do.
And most people don't know much about the Latin culture or Hispanic, because I'm part Hispanic,
Mhm.
and people don't understand that because normally I look white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't grow facial hair out like I used to and stuff. Otherwise, I probably would look more Hispanic. But the thing is though is that people don't understand Mexican. I know Mexican culture like the back of my hand. Like I grew up in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood and Latino, so I know a lot about it. I grew up going to quinceañeras and doing all the fun stuff. I used to hang out at a lot of Spanish clubs and everything, and all my friends were
Nice.
all Mexican.
Ooh,
and
can you
stuff.
salsa?
And legit Mexican. I'm not saying they're Mexican as in Mexican descent. No, they were legit. They came here
From Mexico. Yeah.
and they were all legit Mexicans, and they were my best friend was Mexican. In fact, I'm trying to I got to write a letter for my best friend's dad, so that way they can grant him citizenship to the U.S.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
wow.
Very
That's cool.
And I'm trying to help him come into the U.S. legally.
That's cool.
Okay?
And I don't know how many times I've seen you be called a racist, by the way.
I know.
And now knowing this, that's great.
But I mean, that's, you know, from my perspective, but a lot of them talk shit to me and they don't know anything about me. They don't know my history or how I grew up. I was a Chicano gang member up until I was like 17 years old. I grew up with Su 13, Little Valley Locos. I was I was a gang member until I was almost 17 years old. You know, I was like, I grew up with that culture and that lifestyle. I know everything about it. You know, I know about the La Raza and freaking Norte and all that stuff that a lot of people don't know about. And it's funny because I laugh at them because most of the people that are crying about that are people who never lived that lifestyle or grew up in the suburbs or you know, with money that didn't live the life that I lived, you know, and or even understand anything about, you know, Mexican or Hispanic or Latin culture.
I love this white outrage that's going around.
Yeah. Well,
and they don't understand shit of these cultures that they're trying to stick up for.
Well, like, for example, like there is no Mexican race. So I tell a lot of people that, and they're like, what are you, crazy? And I'm like, no, there is no Mexican race. Is there an American race?
Nope.
Yeah, no.
Well, there's no Mexican race either because they're just as mixed up as Americans are.
Yeah.
There's no like, hey, all Mexicans are not brown.
Right.
A lot of them are white too.
Yeah.
Mexico City, they look like me.
Because I'm Spanish. My family's from Spain. So you look at a lot of the people in the novellas and the Spanish channel and stuff like that, they're all white. They have blue eyes or green eyes and blonde hair because they have stronger bloodlines with Spanish blood.
Yeah.
But the darker skin came from the Indians in the area, the Inca, the Maya, the Aztecs, etc. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you also have Oaxaca down there too, which a lot of, you know, in Hispanic culture they're not thought highly of. But,
okay.
But most people don't know that. So,
I don't know. I'm learning right now.
But the thing is that you have a lot of diversity down there in itself. You have the Native Americans down there, which the Inca, the Maya, and the Aztec, they're all pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Those tribes are gone. Why? Because of the same reasons that a lot of them were kind of, you know, ruined in the United States and pushed out and almost, you know, pushed into extinction. They did the same thing in Mexico.
Yeah.
But then no one's freaking out about that, now are they? You know,
Yeah.
or the fact of the corrupt government in Mexico and South America that is all controlled by the cartels and the gangsters down there and MS-13 and the cartels that all the way up into Juarez. It's crazy and no one holds any of those people accountable for what's going on.
Nope.
But they want to blame us for the problems that they're having down there for just not letting everybody in, and it just doesn't make any sense. Out of the whole population of the world of like 7 billion people, I can guarantee you at least 3.5 billion of them want to come and live in the United States.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like we can't take everybody. I'm sorry, we just can't. I mean, it would be impossible.
Okay.
It would hurt us.
I watched this video, and it was a guy, it was a professor at some university, I believe, and he talked about the crisis that we're facing right now with all the migration of just different cultures from different countries. It's not just from South America. But he was talking about, he had these jars filled with marbles, and it represented the 7 billion people that we have on the planet. And he said he has one jar, and it's a smaller jar, and it's 100 million. It's supposed to represent 100 million refugees that are coming into America every single year, or not 100 million. Maybe it's a million. What's up?
I've seen it.
Okay, yeah. So, anyways, I highly recommend people to go watch that video because it put, I don't know the name of it. It's just a guy speaking about.
So what did he say about the marbles, though?
But what he's saying is,
I've shared it on Facebook.
That's
before.
probably where I saw it then. That's probably exactly where I saw that, because that really made me finally get that whole concept, have an omnipotent view of this, because we only hear about the people that are migrating here in the United States.
Yeah.
And the guy was talking about how if you keep taking the best of the best out of these, countries, you're not actually helping that country out. You're just helping those few that get to escape their country. Yeah. And so what you're doing is you're taking the best and brightest, bringing it to your country, the United States, and you're leaving people there that need these engineers, these doctors, these thinkers, these philosophers, these ones that can actually, there you go, provide purpose, direction, and motivation to rebuild their crippling infrastructure, their economies, their whatever. And if we continuously bring the best and brightest into this country, you're actually screwing over these countries
all these other ones,
because they don't have the resources any longer. You just you keep taking you just keep taking the, I can't think of the word.
Just ruining the rest of the world and those countries in itself.
Exactly.
And that's one thing that I'm a huge advocate of, and that's what I try and tell a lot of people to get them to better understand is that, you know what, the United States has gone through its growing pains. We've gone through the heartache and ripped and torn apart through war after war, and we've gone through poverty. Look at the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Everyone was poor at that time.
Yeah, why don't we have a statue for that? You know?
But no one wants to talk about reality and what really happens around the world, and you know how countries need to stand up for themselves and make themselves their own independent and free country, make their country like the United States. You're gonna have to fight for it. I'm sorry. People are gonna have to die. People are gonna have to bleed. People are gonna have to hurt, and people are gonna have to make sacrifices just like we did.
I say that
just run away and go to a better country. You're gonna have to make your country what you want it to be. You can't just run away from your problems and then expect everything to be better, and then blame us because our country is good and yours sucks. Well, go fix your country then. Quit electing retards and freaking fight for something for God's sake.
That's what I'm saying. If all these immigrants had gotten together and fucking just turned on their government, like the mass of people, they could have fucking won. We didn't even have the numbers and we won. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we fought for our revolution. Like, yeah, I get really excited about this because I'm like, you know, I know Ryan's grandfather, like he fought in World War II for his citizenship from Mexico. And now, you know, he became a citizen because of that. And I see all these like military-aged men. I know people want to say it's not military-aged men coming in here, but fucking look at a picture. And it's kind of like, if they're not going to stay there and fight for their country, why the fuck would they come here and do anything for our country?
And have any loyalty to a country they're not.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how are they going to be loyal to us?
Well, they're not. And I grew up in that culture, and that's one thing that irritates me the most is because I grew up in that in that culture, and I know what it's like. I've dealt with racism because my skin was lighter than everyone else's, and I was the whitest kid in my neighborhood. And guess what? I was punished for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course.
They were like, oh, the white kid, he's weak. I was seen weak because my skin was lighter than everyone else's. So it was like, oh, you're the white kid in the neighborhood. I'm going to fight you. Well, that's why I became so fucking mean and tough. And after a while, no one wanted to fight me no more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like everyone wanted to fight with me, and I got used to fighting everybody.
Yeah.
But the thing was is that I was getting jumped. I was getting beat up. People were coming after me because of the color of my skin.
Yeah.
It was because I was the only white kid in my neighborhood.
Wow.
And I just seemed like an easy target for them. So that's what happened to me, or even the people that come here. That when I was growing up, I dealt with it all. Oh, Mexico's better. You know, I'm flying the Mexican flag and stuff like this. And it was like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
You know, those people, that's what they're brought up to believe. They come here from another country and they do that. And they did that to me when I was growing up. So it's like people try and play this sob story like, oh, these poor people, and it's like, no, I'm not buying into that because I know what it's like. I grew up with it.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up with Chicanos and Cholos and that lifestyle. All right, I know all about it. Don't try and feed me that garbage like I'm some freaking white boy from the suburbs that don't know what's up.
I'm sorry.
I grew up on the streets. Don't come at me with that shit.
Yeah.
Man, Morgan and I, we went to L.A. and I got a buddy of mine who lives there, and he is in no. His family, his dad is someone big with Lyme, and so I knew that he rolled around with some Mexican mafia guys, and he invites me to his place in L.A. And so I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, man, let's go over and see him and have a good time. And so we walk up and upstairs, and there's just like a huge cloud of smoke, you know, coming out. And so I'm like, fuck yeah, they're already smoking. So, man, I'm going to jump in on this. And I get up there, and it's, man, everybody in some loked out shades. They got that top button, you know, and just the rest of that shirt, you know, sprawled out. And I'm just like, oh, fuck, you know, like, because now I'm the whitest. Morgan and I are the whitest motherfuckers in this room. And I'm just like, all right, fuck it, man. I hope they're cool, man, because I'm fucking cool. So I just jump in the middle of it like it's no big deal. And they're like, hey, you want to smoke this? Absolutely, I want to fucking smoke that. They're like, but wait, I mean, how good are you at smoking? And so I'm just, you know, beating my chest. Man, I'm a fucking professional smoker.
No,
give me that fucking shit.
not at all.
I got this. Well, it was OG Kush that they had in this nice bong, but they had put so much keef on there that it looked like a fungus growing out of this bowl.
We had only gotten like nasty Tijuana Kush weed,
Man,
like with branches.
I
and
was
seeds.
not ready for this. I couldn't even clear the fucking bong. And anyways, they were just all fucking laughing because I mean, I was fucking done after that. But yeah, man, I fucking had a great time.
It was fun. Oh, I remember actually when we were driving down the street, there was this guy. He definitely looked like a gang member. Had the writing all over his car, and it was bouncing next to us. And I remember Ryan and what was his name?
I'm not gonna say his name.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
you're good. Yeah, but they were like, "Don't look, don't look, don't look." You know,
Yeah.
like you just keep your eyes forward. And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like I'm from Mississippi. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm like, why can't we look at him, y'all? What's going on? I don't know. And so I just was like, okay, yeah, and I'm high. I was just high standing there. I didn't even have to smoke. I felt like I was in the fucking DeLorean on Back to the Future. Like I was just standing in the smoke and everything, and I felt crazy. But yeah, it was a totally different world on the West Coast for sure. Like just in the communities of like highly Hispanic communities, even it was different. Like Ryan's, was it like your Rick, your real dad? He's like Hispanic and stuff, and you get that. Turn it, the fourth one.
Sorry, I got screaming
No,
children.
you're good, man. You're totally good. But yeah,
Come on, buddy.
he's fine. We're good. We have fucking our dog lapping up water through half of our podcast, and the kids screaming sometimes. But no, I think with his dad, even like when I would met him for the first time and I visited him, I had never been around a bunch of Hispanic people before, like at all. Like I
Oh
wasn't
my
even used to
God,
that.
what you said, that was hilarious.
I grew up on like Jeff Foxworthy, like comedy, and like I rode horses. I was very, very country and sheltered and like from life. So when we got to visit his dad,
We were in Fresno.
yeah, Fresno. We had to, he was leave from from Alaska at some point. And anyway, there was this Hispanic guy like with a whole trailer of like yard equipment and like trees and bushes and shit. And I was like freaking out. Like, oh my God. I'd never, because I heard the jokes about it, like, oh, they're
She
long
didn't know the joke was
people.
funny because it was real.
Yeah.
And so my
I had
dad
no
just looks
idea.
at me and he starts dying laughing. Like, where the fuck did you find her? It's awesome.
I know, dude. It was bad. I felt like such a retard. Like, I felt racist just sitting there because I felt so ignorant, really. It was more about
That
ignorance.
doesn't make you racist.
No, but I felt ignorant. Like, like I didn't know how to act almost around other cultures. It was weird. It's stupid. But and I think
Act like yourself.
But that's the
Be
thing,
you.
though, and I think that's a lot of the people that are like Rico was just saying, like on
Running
Facebook,
outside.
people are always like that. They're always like trying to, be offended, or they're always trying to be, one way, or like try to be like, oh, well, I'm not like that, and I'm just going to be more sentimental towards this culture because whatever reason. It's like, dude, hold on a second. You can't just do that. You can't just be like, oh, let's be sentimental towards this one culture and then want to have your rights a certain way too. Like they're starting to sue like that. I don't know if you saw that article. They're like suing Trump. The sanctuary cities are suing Trump because there's too many illegals coming into the cities.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a really weird fucking article. You should read it.
Wait, what is it? They're suing
yeah.
Trump because they created a sanctuary city and they're complaining
And
there's too many illegals?
in the city now.
Yeah, I've seen that article too.
Is that real?
Yes.
I read it. It was real.
That's not like an Onion article or
No,
anything?
it wasn't Onion. No, it was like The Blade or something like that. I think it was The Blade, something.
The Blaze?
Or The Blaze, yeah.
What is that, Glenn
Yeah, they're
Beck?
that pretty bad. It's that bad. They come up with some crazy stuff, man, and it's outlandish and ridiculous in a lot of cases, and you're just like, come on, man. And some of the people, or even some of our friends that buy into that stuff, it drives me crazy. And it's like, come on, man, you got to be smarter than that. You got to see into the BS rhetoric and look at what these guys are trying to do.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and I think ultimately it's just gonna. I don't know. To me, it just seems like it's gonna end up in a fight.
You think so?
That's what it seems like, because it just doesn't seem like no way or fashion or form or I mean, even though look at the left, I mean, they're just too far left. I mean, like the stuff that they're doing just doesn't even make any sense. Where too many people are more focused on about feelings and you know, stuff that doesn't even matter. You know, they're like people getting over stuff that doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you're right.
And instead of like, you know, doing things, we're like at this weird point, I think, where everything's just kind of at a standstill because of politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
I'm going to change gears. How many kids do you have?
3.
3. And how many girls? Is it 2?
None.
You don't have any girls? I could have sworn you. Maybe that wasn't
Nope.
you. All boys?
Yep.
So no infantryman's curse, huh?
Nope.
Your boys are going to be so fucking tough. You
like,
got a little Spartan sand pit out there built for them?
Yeah, they're a bunch of little lunatics running around making demands. I'm like, what do you think you're telling them what to do?
What are they, how old are they? Like, what are the age ranges?
Have some ice cream.
Right.
Here, just eat this. It's fine.
They're
Don't
4,
tell your mom.
3 and 2.
Oh my gosh, the fun ages.
They're all little.
You got your
That's
hands
fun.
full.
Yeah, you do.
I do.
That's good though. This is fun.
Work right now, so it's just me and the boys.
Nice.
Aww. That's good though. That's a good time. I'm sure she enjoys being away for a little while.
I don't know. I've just been brushing up on all my cartoons lately. I mean, I watched Cars 1, 2, and 3. I've watched
Nice.
Monsters.
Nice.
I'm watching like all of them. I'm watching ones I haven't even heard of before. I'm like, what the hell is this? All right, whatever. Let's watch it, kids. So I'll sit there and watch cartoons all night.
Ski just said that his family's out in Greece or whatever, and so he's like got the house to himself, and he's like, you know what I did? I watched Moana last night. He's watching Disney movies without his kids even being there, and I was like, it happens. That does happen. That's a fun time though. They kind of calm you down a little bit.
Well,
they wound up, but I love being a dad now, and you know,
That's
now
fun.
things in my life have kind of toned down quite a bit.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
I'm not
true.
quite as aggressive as I used to be
Sure.
as an adult male, but now I'm more like kind of. I think now that I have kids, I'm a little bit more. I empathize with people a little bit more. Or at least I try to. I try and understand people in their situations.
Oh, that's
Right.
good.
Bad for a lot of people. I always try and do the right thing in a lot of cases, but
That's good.
if at some point in my mind or in my heart that I'm convinced that someone is bad or evil,
Right.
that's it for them
Yeah.
Right.
from my end. But you know, if there's a spark of good and I think there you know, something good can come of it, then I'll do what I can to help people out, or try and, you know, make things a little easier for them.
Yeah.
I try and help people all the time, but you know, it doesn't always work out. You know, but you do what you can.
That's true.
Well, man, do you have anything you want to add? I think we're going to wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
Sure, brother. No, nothing that I could think of off the top of my mind, other than hey, recruiting sucks, but it's a job.
Hey, man, you told me you get to get off work at 5 o'clock. That's great.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Oh,
that shit.
Not always, okay.
Oh, not always?
Not always. Normally I get off around 6, but sometimes depending on how things are looking that week, I can leave maybe at 5:30.
That's
I usually
nice.
start work at about 8:45. I PT on my own.
Nice.
But on like Saturdays, I work some Saturdays, so some Saturdays I have to work to do some type of events and stuff like that.
Sure.
Friday, like tomorrow, I have to probably work late, so tomorrow I might have to work until 7 p.m. It's Friday, and we're behind on schedule as far as numbers, so they want us all out doing like this blitz thing where we go out in a zip code and try and find more people in our area where we've been slacking apparently, based off of their map system that says we're supposed to recruit about a certain amount of people from that zip code.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
pretty
really
high-tech.
technical. Yeah, I was going to say.
They really break it down, trust me.
That's
And from my perspective, I think it's all bullshit, but it is what it is.
You're like, your numbers are fucked, dude.
So what's a tactic you have found that works, you know, more times than not?
Yeah, is there a
in
certain
recruiting?
tactic?
Yeah, do you have something that just works?
Honesty.
Okay.
Yeah, I get
Just
that.
telling the truth, you know, telling my Army story, usually just telling them what Army's done for me, what I love about the Army, how it would be helpful for them and whatever their goals are and what they hope to achieve. Me, I'm an action adventure kind of guy, so hey, I'm like, hey, if you want to live the life of, you know, scouring countryside, hunt down bad guys, and you know, standing tall, this is kind of the job for you. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you want to be a man and have your grandkids sit on your lap and actually tell them stories of the great things you did, then this is the job for you.
Mhm.
If you want to be a mechanic, maybe not so much, but it's what it is.
Right.
You're like, what'd you do, Grandpa, in the war? Or like, I turned wrenches and
I
I
worked
fixed
on
tires.
some
And you're like,
cars.
well, that's so great, but if you're an infantryman, you got a whole legacy behind you and battles and
True.
stories to go over, and people you worked with, and that's probably the most probably important part of every story is the awesome and wonderful people that you got to work with over the years. The
That's
brotherhood and the
true.
camaraderie and the love that you have for one another. That's one thing that always drove me to that kind of, I guess, drawn me in, like, kind of like a magnet to the job, and that's why I think I stayed so long, is because I love the people I work with.
Yeah.
Guys like you and Gray and Chavez and
That's
all
good.
the wonderful people.
Yeah,
that come
JC
up.
lives over there by you.
Yeah, he's up in Federal Way.
Yep, that's right.
Nice. Well, that's good. Well, it was so nice talking to you. I know we didn't really get to talk much in the past, but I do see you via Facebook, and I appreciate you sharing all your information and your stories. I think people are going to be happy to hear.
And thank you for your service.
Yeah, and thank you for your service. Absolutely.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by thecrabshomestead.com.
Where I blog about our life, homeschooling, homesteading, traveling, DIY tiny life hacks. You can check out our podcast on there, and you can also check out our shop.
Don't forget about our Poshmark closet. We are second chancers, that is to ND chancers. We have band tees, sports jerseys and apparel, single stitch vintage shirts, Ralph Lauren and Tommy Hilfiger polos, cool kicks, antiques, and collectibles. We just picked some 1940s Pennzoil motor oil cans that still have the original oil in it. The original grocer's 69-cent price tag is still proudly displayed on top. Stacked and displayed, they remind me of a Fallout 4 prop. They spruce up any man cave, she cave, or bar and bring you back to a simpler time. Or just appreciate the fact that these are no longer made.
You can find our shenanigans online at thecrabshomestead.com and Talkin' Chitty on Facebook and Instagram. You can also follow our Schooly Life on Facebook at Chitty Bang Schooly and Instagram at The Crabs Homestead.